Today is December 1st, and please join me in this Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Franco?
Here.
David Medeiros is absent today. Pat Garrett? Here. Eric Renaissance?
Here.
Amanda Hubert?
Here. All right. Next on our agenda is public comment. This is the time when anyone can speak about an item that's not on the agenda for tonight. And I'd like to invite anyone who has an item to submit a card. Do you have any? Okay. And just for anyone who's not been here, if you do want to speak, there are some speaker cards by the door. Just put your name and where you live, and when you come to the podium, just identify yourself, because that's our public record. Okay, informal project review. This is none. Okay. Okay. Moving on to action items. We have action item A, affidavit of posting agenda. I think we better take them separately. All right, so shall we?
I move that action item 4A, affidavit of posting agenda, be approved.
I'll second that.
Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett?
Aye.
Board Member Medeiros is absent. Board Member Renaissance?
Aye.
Chairman Hubert?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously, 4001 with Board Member Medeiros absent.
Okay, thank you. Next item is item B, consider sign design review for Pueblo Viejo Imports, 311 3rd Street in the Historic District, and make a recommendation for the Planning Commission. The applicant is Jose Guzman.
Okay. Mr. Jose Guzman has brought forth plans for the sign that is supposed to be put up at 311 3rd Street on the 3rd Street elevation of Pueblo Viejo Imports location, and has sought approval from the Historic Resources Board. The proposed sign complies with the city's sign ordinance. The dimensions of the sign are 40 inches by 30 inches. The material of the sign will be distressed pine wood. Lettering will be painted on with white paint, and there will be molding around the sign that will be of the same material, which is a distressed pine wood. The sign will be, again, the sign will be placed in the front elevation right next to the door to the left-hand side.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would the applicant like to come forward? Hi. Please. And just introduce yourself by name and location.
Jose Guzman. I'm the owner of Pueblo Viejo Imports, and excited to be here.
Okay. This is, for the audience, this is the proposed sign on distressed wood, white lettering. Is that the type of font you plan to use?
Be consistent with what you see on there.
Okay. And it'll be painted,
Yes.
right? And I'm pleased to see that you're going to use the bolts that are already in the building, because
Exactly. We won't
it's
make any changes.
an historic building. We don't want any more
Right.
holes in it. Is there any? Do any of you have any questions for? Okay. Does the audience have any questions or comments or nothing? Okay. Do we have any questions for our applicant?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Good
Go ahead and be seated. Thank you.
Good project.
And so just, again, for the audience, it'll be placed right here on the building. Okay. So I will entertain. Does anyone have a motion?
I move that action item 4B, the sign for Pueblo Viejo Imports at 311 3rd Street, be approved.
Okay. Roll call.
Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett? Board Member Medeiros is absent. Board Member Renaissance?
Aye.
Chairman Hubert?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously, 4001 with Board Member Medeiros absent.
Next item, approve minutes for the November 3rd, 2015 meeting. I was absent at that meeting, but I do know that Valerie's name is misspelled, so we need to change that to V-E-L. No, V-A-L-E-R. Any other comments, corrections?
I didn't see any on this.
Public comments?
On the minutes? Okay. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from last month?
There being no comments from the public or the commission or the board, I move that the action item 4C, approval of minutes of the meeting of November 3rd, 2015, be approved, subject to the one correction.
I'll second.
Okay.
Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett? Board Member Medeiros is absent. Board Member Grabstock?
Aye.
Chairman Guevara?
Aye.
All members of the board being
Oops,
present?
no, I can't vote because I wasn't here.
One there, okay.
Did you want to just?
I didn't watch all of it.
Okay.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 3-1-0-1 with Chairman Guevara abstaining and Board Member Medeiros absent.
Good. All right, moving on to the public hearing. We have just 3 items for public hearing. The first one is to consider the historic site and design review for a bathroom structure at Jardines de San Juan and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The applicant is Robert Winkler.
Madam Chair, unfortunately, at the last meeting, we didn't have the complete package together with the elevations here. We've got the site plan that shows where the location is and the setback and the sanitary sewer line and the connection to the remaining of the plaza, as well as the elevations of the structure and the floor plan, and they've indicated that all of the facilities in there will be ADA compliant.
Okay. Just for the benefit of the public, Jardines is proposing a bathroom at the southwest corner of their building, their plot, back where the garden weddings are held. And otherwise, the guests have to come all the way to the front, and there are a limited number of bathrooms there. The paint scheme will be the same as their La Calavera building. And Mr. Winkler, would you like to come forward? Okay. Hi.
My name is Robert Winkler. I'm with Jardines de San Juan.
Okay. And the building looks like it'll be in keeping with the others.
It'll be a duplicate of the theater. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone from the audience have any questions, comments? No? Okay. Commissioners?
I got one.
All right.
You're also going to have a little bar serving area there too, right?
It's a bath and bar combination.
Okay. That's going to be on the side of that too.
Yeah. Will it be similar to what you have now?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? It's pretty straightforward.
And then the other question was, they're talking about going around that olive tree with curb gutter. Why don't they just take that tree out? It's easy to move. Either move it or just get rid of it and leave that curb straight.
That olive tree?
Yes,
That's a beautiful olive tree.
but it can be moved pretty easy.
I don't think so. The width of that thing is 6 foot by 4 feet.
We
The
just
base
moved,
trunk.
we just moved 10 of them up at cemetery, are way older than that tree, and none of them died.
But did you see the root
Yeah. They're not
blossom on
there,
that
but
thing?
the roots on an olive tree get a lot of fibers.
Well, I mean, I'm not adverse, but I don't like to remove street trees, and I would just soon have the sidewalk go around them than
No, that tree too, that tree was planted in 1963.
Yeah, right. And I measured the root bulb on the thing, and it was 6 feet long by 4 feet wide, and that's just, wow.
I just trying to save some
Yeah.
money.
Of course,
We like the tree there. The ambiance is nice. It
Yeah.
fits in with everything else. I'd rather not change it.
I just thought we'd save you some money.
Yeah. Now, the other tree is dead there, you know.
That one we're gonna remove.
Remove, yeah. I recommended to remove it.
Yes.
And everything. And if you want to have another one planted there, we could take the same thing and relocate the sidewalk around it, you know.
I think we'll just dig that one up and
Yeah.
just put the sidewalk straight there.
Okay. Well, it's a good, clean presentation. We can see what it's going to be like. You've got your colors already. It's nice to see.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead and be seated. All right, commissioners, are you ready?
You talk about public convenience and necessity.
Yeah.
We're going to end up with curb, gutter, and sidewalk on 2 streets that we didn't have before. That's going to be a plus for the neighborhood, and for our district. And I think, overall, I think we got a good project going.
I agree.
So,
Okay.
who would like to?
There's no other comments from the public or the committee, the board. I move that the proposal for the bathroom structure and bar at Jardines de San Juan Restaurant be referred to the Planning Commission with a recommendation of approval.
I'll second.
Okay.
Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett?
Aye.
Board Member Medeiros is absent. Board Member Grezzoff?
Aye.
Chairman Guevara?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously, 4-0-0-1. The board member Medeiros is absent.
All right. Thank you for coming. Consider historic site and design review for a fence at the rear of the property at 35 Franklin Street and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The applicant is Jim West.
Madam Chair, the applicant is in the audience. He has submitted a site design review for his property to build a fence about 30 feet on each leg of the property, about 8 foot high, with a sloping shed roof that will hopefully reduce the sound to his residents from the, I'm going to say events that occur on the Hardin property from time to time.
How high is the existing fence? So the fence in question will be over here. And this fence, how high is that one?
It varies. It goes from anywhere from 5.5 to 8 feet.
This fence?
That one is lower.
Well, this is the whole border.
Yeah, they're
with
not the same fence. There's one kind of fence here, and there's another kind of fence
Okay.
up there, and it's in disrepair. And we talked about it, and we talked about doing the fence, but they only want to do a wood fence. And so what I want to do is build a shed there, and I want to pack it full of insulation.
Okay, so that will be
It's
a shed.
really a sound wall fence is what it is.
And the exterior facing the Hardin will be wood siding
Yeah.
with battens on there to cover up the thing, to keep it rustic.
And whatever color they want.
Yeah.
It'll be-
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to have a question or make a comment? I'm interested in knowing how Hardin feels about this. Are you?
We've talked with Mr. West and we're very happy.
Okay.
Good for both sides.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. If no one else from the audience has any questions, or do we have any questions for Mr. West?
Yeah, mine was more just a technicality, and I just want to make sure, and we can do it in the Planning Commission end of it too, let me find it here real quick. Is in the municipal code that's stated on the Planning Commission end, it states there has to be mutual agreement between the two. Sounds like there is, but I think the technicality is just to make sure we have some sort of letter signed in that file. So that'd be my only recommendation. It's a formality more than anything, it sounds like.
So, City Manager, how could we do that? How could we have it in writing that Hardina's agrees?
To make that a condition
Okay.
where the neighbors would submit a letter to the city and for a file.
Okay.
It states it's something like the majority of the surrounding, and that's, like I said, it's a formality, but we'll want to get all those
Good
things.
idea.
Yep.
And I'm happy that the neighbors can get along. All
What I
right.
see here is a 10-foot structure. And we have 8 foot to the wall. Then with the slope, it goes up another 2 feet.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, no. And my concern is we're trying to alleviate a problem here. And we're not going after the problem. The problem is noise, is sound. And if that sound is in excess of allowable limits, then that's where it should be we should start. Reduce the sound to acceptable levels on the other side of that wall, because no property owner should have to put all this extra expense for a project like this that might not be necessary if the noise levels were less or at proper
Let me
levels.
say a couple of things. Number one, I knew Hardeen's was there when I built the house.
No.
When I remodeled the house.
Yeah.
And number two, their noise has been good. Every once in a while, but they've got it down to where they've got pre-approved disc jockeys, and they shut down at 10 o'clock on the dot. So I got no problem with it. I
Okay.
just want to. If I sit out on a summer night, I'd like it a little quieter, and I can't believe that with my bad hearing, I can still hear it. But what it is I think it's the kind of music that they play as much as the level of the music.
You can
Not
feel
my
it too,
favorite.
huh?
They did piano jazz there a couple times. I sat out, I loved it.
Yeah, that was my concern. If the noise was high enough to be really a public nuisance, then we should go after that. But it doesn't seem to be in this case, so.
How nice that they can all get along.
I make a motion to pass it.
Okay.
Second.
All right, Trish.
Okay, Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett?
Aye.
Board Member Medeiros Dustin? Board Member Grensall?
Aye.
Chairman Rivera?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion stated by the maker passes unanimously, 4001. Board Member Medeiros absent.
Okay. Item C, consider a conditional use permit for a Type 41 beer and wine license for JJ's Homemade Burgers at 100 The Alameda, and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The applicant is Jesus Zavala.
In track 2.0, ABC states that only 8 on-sale and 4 off-sale licenses are allowed. What an on-sale license is a restaurant or a bar. An off-sale license is more like a market or a liquor store. What we currently have is 12 on-sale and 4 off-sale. So we meet the off-sale, but we exceed the on-sale. So since we exceed it, we're going to need a public convenience and necessity to allow this license to go forth. And we're also going for a conditional use permit to put conditions for the sale of alcohol at JJ's Burgers.
My understanding is that he lost the license because he didn't have adequate safety items around the eating area, outside eating area, and he needs to get it back. But since he doesn't have one, he has to apply for use permit.
Yes.
And the finding of public convenience and necessity.
Yes.
The fact that the fence isn't entirely enclosed isn't a problem for ABC?
Not anymore. Actually, it's a requirement when it's when they have outside eating area. They want it to be fenced off so they could only allow alcohol within the fence and not outside of it.
Right, but the fact that there's no gate to totally enclose it, ABC doesn't care.
It's just like mom and pops where they keep the doors open.
Okay.
Because it's just the fact
Oh.
that it can't go off premise.
And is it our responsibility or ABC's to ask that they post a sign? Oh, I guess, no, that wouldn't.
That would be an occupancy rating
Yeah.
for the area.
The ABC makes all of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're fine.
The building department generally makes the decision on occupancy loads, and that's in closed areas. We've never had to address it in outdoor dining.
Now, does it have anything to do with the school property being within 300 feet?
No,
That doesn't bother them?
yeah, nothing about it.
Well, that's perhaps why it's coming to us. And
For the public
Yeah.
necessity.
Well, I don't see that the board deals with that, but the fact that it is occurring in a historical district, I think that's anything that happens in here, we should know any of the permits that asked for to the city should be reviewed here. But this board does not issue use permits.
Mr. Zavala, do you have anything to add? No. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Zavala? Zavala. Zavala. Okay. All right. Anybody from the audience have any questions, comments? Okay. I think it's a great idea. Outdoor dining on the patio.
There's currently a fence there, though, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that has to be permanently enclosed, or can that still be a gate, latching gate?
It's like you said, having the doors open at the bar.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's ABC's issue more than ours.
Yeah, the ABC has rules and regulations,
And they're tight.
you have to go by their rules.
Okay. Then, are we ready to take action?
Want to make this one?
Gosh, thanks. I move that we recommend the JJ's Burgers request for a conditional use permit onto the Planning Commission.
And any finding.
Oh, and a finding that it is a public convenience and or a necessity.
And necessity.
And necessity, not or. Yes, that sounds bad, doesn't it?
It's a necessity.
It absolutely is.
So the first was made by
Eric.
the motion, okay, Eric, and a second?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett? Board Member Medeiros is absent. Board Member Redesau?
Aye.
Board Member Rivera?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the major passes unanimously, 4001, with Board Member Medeiros absent.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, we have comments from the Historic Resources Board. Pat, do you have anything to say?
No comment.
Okay.
None here.
Okay. All right. I just have couple comments. The new Mission Village Voice is out. In terms of keeping with history, we have the Then and Now that covers the saints. And there's also a nice article about Mariquita Breen Anzar. Mariquita Zanetta Breen Anzar. So pick up a copy. We've got some here. They're all over town. And the other thing is that the Historical Society has talked about the Zeller sign. We are trying to get the right wording, and I'm going to try to do a chain of title to know exactly when Mr. Zeller lived at the house. So we should get that perhaps by the next meeting.
You know, what surprised me was that I was having breakfast at Doña Esther's, and there's this big carving. By Dios, and it's a big one. And it was a Zeller.
Yeah. Well, I went to the Legacy of Women dinner at Piscina's Ranch, and Valerie Eglund, who was there, and who was a student of Zeller, recognized the carving of Piscina's Ranch as having been done by Zeller. So he's everywhere. He did Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo, right? Is that where
Yes.
So he's we're lucky.
No. Oh, and Madonna Inn.
Yeah, we're lucky to have had such an esteemed person living in our town.
Local boy makes good.
Any comments from city managers, staff? Okay. All right then. I will close this meeting of the Historic Resources Board at 6:23.
And I will pick up the gavel here. And this is a regular meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista. Today is December 1st. And call to order, please. Oh, roll call.
Patty Rivera?
Here.
Eric Redesau?
Here.
Pat Medeiros? Garrett?
There.
Thank you. David Medeiros is absent, and Chairman Franco.
Present. We have a quorum. We can continue. Okay, the next one is public comment. Anyone who has a comment they would like to make before the commission on an item that is not already on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, please hold your comments at that time, and that way your comments can be integrated with the other comments, and we'll have a more intense or discussion with your comments than anybody else's, rather than separating them in two locations. Would anyone like to speak on anything other than what's on the agenda? Like we're doing a good job?
They never say that.
They never say that. Darn. God, do you think maybe they know something we don't
I
know?
don't know. Maybe, yeah.
But thank you. Okay, informal project review. Do we have any?
None.
None, okay. Action items, we have 5 of them. Approve the affidavit of posting agenda, affidavit of posting and mailing of public notice for 301 the Alameda, affidavit of posting and mailing public hearing notice at 100 the Alameda, approve the Pueblo Viejo import sign permit, and which was recommended for approval by the Board of Historic Resources, and approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2015.
I move to approve items A, B, and C, and that we take D and E separately.
I'll second.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gretsas?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously 4001 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, finishing off these. Do you want to take them now, or do you want to put them on the agenda later on? Let's take them now.
We should do it now.
Okay, approve the Pueblo Viejo imports sign permit. This was recommended by the Historic Resources Board.
Trish, what will be the item, the resolution number?
37.
Okay.
37.
Since the Historic Resources Board recommended that the Planning Commission approve it,
I would, before you do that,
I don't believe there is a resolution.
Yeah, we have one in there.
Oh, you did put one?
yeah.
okay, before we do that, I think we're missing one important item on here. You said that the Historic Resources Board recommended it, but it is not indicated on the resolution.
Okay.
And I think it should be.
Let's see here.
Does anybody else?
Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the sign design review with recommendations from the historical.
No, you can do it as a whereas.
Yeah, we can
Just
do
put it as a whereas,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas that is meeting the HRB recommended approval, reviewed and recommended approval, yeah.
Then with that addition, I'll move that we approve a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the sign design review for Pueblo Viejo imports located at 311 3rd Street, APN 002-010-002.
Whoa, wait, which APN?
That's right.
002-170-002. Okay. And this is resolution 2015-37.
I'll second.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gretsas?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously 4001 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay. The next one is the minutes of November 3rd, 2015. Let's see, I know they're around somewhere. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes? They're very detailed. Resolution?
For the minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Action. Chair entertains a motion for action regarding item
Well, you were getting
4E, approval of minutes.
Getting very official. I move that we approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2015 of the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Abstain because I was absent.
Commissioner Garrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gretsas?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
Members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 30101 with Commissioner Guerrero abstaining
Okay, now we have public hearing items. Public hearing items are different from just normal items because there's a formality that has to go into it. So we'll do the first one. Consider site and design review for a detached accessory restroom and bar at Jardines de San Juan Restaurant, 115 3rd Street. The applicant is Robert Winkler. This is a continued item. Staff.
Mr. Chair, we have the recommendation from the Historical Resources Board, which is represented in the resolution under now therefore be it resolved. The paragraph carries with it the same recommendations that the Historical Resources Board approved it, subject to those conditions for street improvements, sidewalk, curb and gutter on Franklin Street, sidewalk on Washington Street. We would ask the commission to open the public hearing and receive comments and approve the resolution.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this issue, for or against? Now would be the time. Do you have any speaker cards?
No, very much.
Okay. There being no comments from the public, I will now go to the commissioners. Commissioners, what's your feeling about this?
I still approve it.
Okay. Okay, the chair would entertain a motion for action on this. Before we start, there's a resolution draft here, and I would like in the second whereas, where it says customers Jardines de San Juan Restaurant, there's an S that goes on Jardines. There's Gardens of St. John Gardens.
Oh, in the resolution itself.
Jardine and needs an S.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And also, I noticed in the other resolution staff that there was something about hold harmless agreements. Should a hold harmless agreement be included in this one?
Yeah, we could put that in there as a whole harmless, because basically when they're dealing in the public right-of-way, we get an encroachment permit that contains the whole harmless inside that.
Okay. So that, I'll leave it to your discretion as to whether to include it as a condition or pick it up in the permit then. Okay. I'm sorry, you were about to make a motion.
Move that we approve Resolution 2015-38, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista, approving the site and design S&D 2015-1101 of an accessory restroom building at 111 3rd Street, 002-210-01, comma 202 and 03 for Jardines de San Juan.
Oh, here we go. Jardines de.
And take out the loss.
Take out the loss.
I'll second that.
We have a second.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gretasaw?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously 4001 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, the next item. Consider site and design review for a fence at the rear of the property, 35 Franklin Street. Applicant Jim West.
Again, Mr. Chair, the Historical Resources Board has reviewed the thing and has made a recommendation to the Planning Commission. There are two resolutions. One is the exemptions, and the second one is the approval of the site and design review permit.
Okay, to the public, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal to put the fence between Mr. West's property and Jardines de San Juan Restaurant? Do we have any cards? No communications. The reason I keep asking the clerk is because sometimes people send stuff in electronically, and she would be the one to tell us that what's happening. Okay, commissioners, on the fence.
We're not on the fence.
You can't be on the fence. You got to vote one way or the other. Right.
I think regarding the resolution, we again want to include a whereas indicating that the HRB had approved or recommended the project to the Planning Commission.
And again, the resolution for the exemption would there, but the resolution for the approved site and architectural with recommendations, and that should be either a whereas or now for their be. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, the chair entertains the motion for action.
I move that we pass, can we do these together?
No, one at a time.
One at a time, okay. I move that we pass a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista adopting a categorical exemption for the site and design permit, review permit SDR 2015-1202 of APN 002-201-003 at 35 Franklin Street.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Grosskopf?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously 4-0-0-1 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay. We have a second resolution. That was the environmental concerns. Now we deal with the site and design. On this draft resolution, on the third whereas, in the second line, the applicant's property has, we need to have one of the words removed.
You remove the is.
Mm-hmm.
Remove this, okay. And then extend into evening hours of 10 p.m. It's extending into the evening
Up
hours.
to 10 p.m.
Up to,
I think it's up to.
okay. Good enough. Okay. We have, this is the actual site and design. Does anyone like to make any comments on the site and design for this? No comments? Okay. There being no public comments, bring it back to the commissioners, and the chair entertains a motion for action.
I move that we pass resolution number 2015-40 of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista, approving the site and design review permit SDR 2015-1202 for APN 002-210-003 at 35 Franklin Street.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Grosskopf?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 4-0-0-1 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, the next item, 5C, consider a conditional use permit for a Type 41 beer and wine license at JJ's Burgers at 100 the Alameda. The applicant, Jesus Zavala. And we're looking here for basically a use permit to allow on-sale beer and wine, and a finding of public convenience and necessity, because within Census Tract 2, we have equal or more than is allowed, the permits that are allowed. Basically, this comes down to is there any reason that this permit should not be issued? That's the question you want to ask yourself. Okay, staff.
As specified during the HRB meeting, the applicant, Jesus Zavala, is requesting a conditional use permit and a finding of public convenience and necessity in order for him to attain his Type 41 beer and wine license for a bona fide eating place, which is JJ's Burgers at 100 the Alameda. Again, he needs a finding of a public convenience and necessity due to the overload of the overconcentration of the on-sale licenses from the required 8 to the actual 12 that we have, and with the approval of this license, it would be the 13th.
Okay. To the public, is there anyone who has any comments for or against the issuing of a use permit to allow on-sale beer and wine? There being no comments to the public, commissioners, How do you feel about this? Well, the way I see it is that we've been doing this for a long time. It's a very successful business. I think it's an asset to the city, and I would hate to see them lose it because I've had a hamburger there with a beer, and they just seem to go together.
You've had a beer there?
Oh, wait, it's early on.
You've imagined it.
Right.
You did have a license, didn't you? Yeah, they removed it.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, it's a good product. Okay, looking at the draft resolution, one thing I feel is it's in the the third whereas, the last sentence is over-concentrated and thus requiring a finding of public convenience and necessity. And I think it's needed there, and it's also needed in under the whereas 1, the second paragraph there, the second of the last sentence, also with a finding of public convenience and necessity.
Which whereas?
The third.
The third and?
The last line there.
Oh.
Thus, instead of seeking, is thus requiring.
Yeah, I got that one. Was there another one that you wanted?
Oh, way down here at second, the number 1 under whereas, the last whereas.
Okay.
Second to the last sentence, be permitted that a zone with a conditional use permit and also with a finding of public convenience and necessity. Okay. Then on the page 2 there, under number 4, the last sentence again, a finding of public convenience and necessity. And then on the second line of the, now there before it be resolved, conditional use permit and makes a finding of public convenience and necessity. And one thing I would like to add, since we're talking about a new permit, hospitality training. Anybody who deals with the service of alcoholic beverages should be trained accordingly. And I think ABC runs classes or has people who do. But I think anybody who serves alcoholic beverages should be trained in knowing when not to serve. And this is what this training does. It ends up with a better product, and I think also it helps the business owner in as much as what did you do to avert a problem that may have occurred? And I had my people trained. And don't forget, all those old, the office parties? Liquor flowed like water until somebody had a major accident and they went right back to the party and who was in charge, and everybody got zapped because they let people drink in excess and run off and drive. So I would require hospitality training for all employees serving alcoholic beverages, however ABC wants to word it, or we want to word it that way. That's my recommendation. Other than that, I have no problem with it.
Can that be written in here?
Oh, yeah, just another condition. Condition number 9, or whatever they want to number. I'll leave that with the staff. Okay. Does the public have any comments as a result of this discussion? No comments? Okay, commissioners, staff entertains a motion for action if there's no other comments.
I move to approve Resolution 2015-41, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a conditional use permit and a public convenience and necessity for JJ's Burgers located at 100 The Alameda, APN 002-480-005, and an application for a Type 41 on-sale beer and wine license for a bona fide eating establishment.
I'll second.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gradisov?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion stated by the maker passes 4-0-0-1 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, next item.
Thank you.
Keep serving good burgers. Okay, we have now consider an application for a conditional use permit to operate a performing arts training / motion picture, sound recording, TV, web, and video studio at 301 The Alameda. Zoning is commercial. The applicant is Estrella and Ron Johnson. Staff.
Chairman Franco, so the Johnsons are requesting for a conditional use permit for their proposed business of Astronomicas DMR to operate out of 301 the Alameda Suite B6. The studio use within the general commercial area is allowed with a conditional use permit according to the new matrix that we have.
Okay. We don't have a site plan for this one, so I'm not sure which one it is. And there should have been a site plan included with this application. Is there anyone in the public, in the audience, who would like to comment on this for or against?
How about the applicant?
Maybe we can have the applicant?
Is the applicant present?
Is that, okay.
Would you please step to the podium and tell us what's happening? Because obviously nothing's happening there right now.
Well, there is, but there's nothing major happening right now. We're in the planning phase, in a pre-production phase for what we're doing. Would you like to start, or should I? Okay. So basically, what our office does is the majority of work that we do is talent consulting for actors, entertainers. We also do web design. I did the web design for the first run of Valley of the Heart for El Teatro Campesino. We also teach modern acting and theater at the Mexican Heritage Plaza in San Jose. And what we love to do is to generate creative ideas and content and put that out into the world. We also have a contract with the Monterey County Office of Education doing McKay Talks for innovation in education. And that's what we're up to at the moment. But we also have grand designs to write, produce film, and TV and theater, and we have all of those things in the work right now.
Wow. I'm glad I asked.
It would just be a central area. It would be a home base for us.
Basically, we started out of our home, of course, our home office in another room, and we've outgrown it, and we really, really love San Juan. We love living here, and we wanted to have an administrative area where our clients could come to meet with us, where we could have small meetings and trainings, and just be more visible to the people in the community that that's what we do there.
I looked up your business on the web and saw your name is Estrella Esparza
Yes.
Johnson. I didn't make the connection until I saw your face, and I thought, why is she here? This is Phil Esparza's daughter, so she's got a lot of background in the field.
Oh, Phil Esparza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Did I say that right? Yeah.
I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. I shouldn't have.
Okay.
I shouldn't have. I know better.
Yeah, no, I'm a second-generation member of El Teatro Campesino. I wouldn't exist without the company being in existence. My parents met there. So our work is very much rooted in that whole scene of training people and making sure that there's really great art out there in the world. That's what we do.
Wow.
Great. It's great. It would be a real asset to town.
We're kind of working as a fixture within cities, San Juan, Gilroy, and San Jose right now. We kind of cover the map that way.
Now, in the complex, the grocery store,
Yeah.
where are you?
Do you know where the Hazel Hawkins Clinic is?
Yeah.
Right diagonally across.
Right next to Dirt and Construction.
Between Dirt and Construction and the
Okay.
the other insurance company.
Right in the corner.
It's a very small space.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
400 square feet.
Very good.
It's a great location.
Good. Yeah, a lot of people come through there.
Yes.
Okay, then. Any more questions of them?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys had any questions about what we do. We'd be happy to answer.
No, the connection to Valley of the Heart, which was my very favorite.
That was an
I really
outstanding
love that.
production.
Yeah, if
I'm
you
going to see it
ever
again.
went to the website,
Yeah.
I did that one.
That was the one.
Yeah, very good.
Hours of operation?
They're roughly about 10 to 6.
Okay.
But if, because of course we're night owls as well, so we tend to go in there if there's a heavy editing project to do with multimedia editing, or I like to write at night or very, very early in the morning. We have 2 children, and so we try to work around their schedules as well sometimes. But that's basically it.
Yeah, we do
Monday
it
through
in
Friday.
shifts. If there needs to be extra work, we're there.
Right.
The people who gave us the rental already said that we can go 24 hours. So sometimes we make use of it, sometimes we don't.
It all depends on the production work that we have on the calendar. If it's pre-production, then there's not usually a lot of intensive hours, but as you get right up to it, there's usually more to do right on deadline.
Okay.
Do you employ very many other staff, or is it, no? So
No, it's just us.
just you
It's
two,
just us
okay.
that work, and we do most of our production work off-site. Whether it is teaching artists or providing our services to other organizations. So it's really just our home base right now.
When I first read the staff report, I envisioned that you were on 3rd Street, because I know El Teatro now has a base there on 3rd Street.
Right.
But you really weren't affiliated with them. I mean, I only learned of that right now, so I don't know what made me think that. But anyway, it seems like a good location for you.
Yeah, we like it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Based on discussion, is there anybody in the audience would like to comment for or against? Okay. Do we know any? Do we have anything, Trish?
Yeah.
No comments. No comments for stand in. Okay. With no further comments from the public, commissioners, any last comments?
I am pleased with the project. I would just like to add, I think, a whereas about, and I think this would be a good trend to start, to have a whereas saying that the applicant has received the sign permit application or is aware of the process, just so that we'll always know we can preemptively.
Well, you make a condition that the applicant shall apply to the city for the appropriate sign.
If they, I mean, would every applicant want a sign? I guess they would, huh?
It's got to find them.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't know where they were.
So they would just come to you, and because it's a master. Yeah. Okay. And that's a perfect example of the comprehensive sign program.
We're entitled to 2 signs, one an 8x3 and one small.
Okay.
Wow.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Is condition number 4 on this resolution, now they're resolved. No recording of musical instruments and/or loud noises past 8 p.m. Oh, yeah, that should be passed,
Yeah, PAST.
not passed. Can you live with that? No problem? Like I said, if this is approved, I want it to be successful. I don't want to find out later that if we had done this or that, you'd still be in business. So you think about these things, because that's we want to make sure that you're going to be there. Because what I see here is that San Juan has El Teatro, and we have all these major events, and this is right in with a part of the culture of the city, and I think it's something that's it's needed, and I think it's going to put us on the map
I
here.
think that's really going to help identify us or brand us. So.
We keep needing more items to draw people to San Juan Bautista, and it's people like you who are doing things that are going to get people to come back here and say, that's where they are. We need to talk to them. And that brings them in there, and they got to eat someplace, and we have some nice restaurants, and it's all part of a big picture which we've been working on for some time. So thank you for applying. Okay, commissioners, if there's no other comments, this chair entertains a motion for action.
I move to approve Resolution 2015-41. 42, sorry.
We've been busy tonight.
Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a request for a conditional use permit to allow Astronemica's DMR to operate in a general commercial zone at 301 The Alameda, Suite B6, APN 002-520-009.
Second.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Gradstaff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion stated by the maker passes unanimously 4-0-1 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, the next item is a lot line adjustment and site and design review at 415 7th Street. Now, the state of California has determined that because I live within 300 feet of the project, I have a conflict of interest. So before we get into this, before I hand off the gavel, I would like the remaining commissioners to select a chairman pro tem to serve in my place. This in the absence of Vice Chairman Medeiros.
I nominate Yeah, I nominate Chairman Goubert.
Okay. I accept, or do you have to vote on it?
Is it consensus or is it?
Just a consensus, you know, yeah, amongst the commissioners.
Is anybody opposed?
They'll act as pro tem.
Okay. This being, I shall now
Pass the gavel.
pass the gavel
Okay.
to you.
Recuse yourself.
Good myself.
Rip.
Go silently. Okay. I don't see the applicant, I don't think. Is the applicant here? Okay, is our city attorney here?
No, she wasn't there. But she has submitted us a letter
Okay.
and everything, and I'll have Rudy pass that out to
Okay.
you. Both the items E and F are combined to one depends on the other. The lot line adjustment is subject to the site design review, and as the item has been in front of you in the last two meetings, and it is a result of a long history. It started back in 2006, where the applicant, the property owner at that time, Mr. Dubois, and he still is the property owner, and he has gave consent to Alvias to submit the application for the current plan. He acquired a certificate of compliance for 2 lots. And the attachment that I gave you tonight, the map in the back shows you, and that's why I wanted you to make sure that you take a look at the map. This map was severed back in, I think, 1955 when the state of California purchased the right-of-way for the 156 right-of-way going around San Juan. Prior to that, it went down McCullamy Street and the Alameda and through town. The take from the state of California severed not parcels 1 and 2, but 8 and 9 of the Ramona Heights, and it left 2 small pieces of lot 8 and 9, and you'll see it outlined in the yellow boundaries. The applicant in 2006 came to the planning commission and said, these are legal lots. And the commission approved them with the certificate of compliance to say they are legal lots. And then after they were legal lots, then they entertained an application for a lot line adjustment, a variance, and a site design review of those 4 lots. And that's how the 4 lots were created. There was some errors made in the findings that substantiate because lots 8 and 9 were really not buildable at that time, and that the findings should have been said that they're unbuildable. But neither here to say the commission at that time said that they were legal lots, and they approved it. So that's how the 4 lots have been created. Okay. Now, Mr. Vallis has got a contract with the owner, Mr. Dubois, to purchase the property subject to approval from the Planning Commission to build 4 structures, residential structures on the land. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the application. Go ahead.
That's not correct. Mr. Dubois bought this property knowing that there was only 2 lots there.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't know that, and I've never talked to Mr. Dubois about what he knew or not. I'm just saying is, of the record, that's what has transpired.
Because the people that own that property called me up and asked what they could get for that piece of property.
Yeah.
Well, that's when he bought that property, that's when property is right out through the ceiling. He paid $490,000 for this piece of property. The thing is that Matthews, the planning director then, worked for the city, and he also worked for Du Bois. And that's a conflict of interest. This thing should have never been split into 4 lots.
So what can we do at this point,
It
though?
wasn't split. It was certified as 4 lots as in compliance. That was the motion that was made.
Because what happened is this becomes a minor subdivision, right?
No, it still is. That's, there's a
not
difference.
one piece
There's
of
a,
property up there that has this condition on it.
no. There's a difference between a minor subdivision where you create lots. These lots existed legally from the Ramona Heights. And he said lot 8 and 9 are existing. And now he's asked the Planning Commission to adjust them to make 4,000 square foot lots. That's the legal mechanism that he used.
But
Okay.
what I'm understanding is that Matthew's son was representing Pat
Both parties.
Dubois and the city. How can he do both? It is a
Well,
conflict.
and I don't know, and I have no recollection of that, and there's nothing in the record that shows me that and everything. I'm just stating what's on the record, and I researched the record into the facts.
So who does the voice owe the money to? The city, or does he owe it to Matthews?
To the city.
Now, he had a note against, Matthews had a note against him. Whatever happened to that was. I heard at one time the thing was 30,000, now it's down to 13,000.
It's about $12,800.
How much?
$12,800.
That's part of one of the conditions,
It
right?
is one of the conditions,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Has that been accruing any interest over this last 10 years?
No.
Can it legally have been collecting
No,
interest?
that's just an unpaid planning bill that does not draw interest. You know.
There's nothing in that would have allowed for interest to have been.
And that
deferred.
was one of the conditions that I set with the new developer, Mr. Vallis, and I says that has to be, upon approval, that has to be part of the conditions to cure that.
And that's early in the process.
What Al Bias is doing, he doesn't own these lots yet. He's going on the presumption that we're going to pass this thing. Where you get 4 lots.
That's an option that goes on every day in real estate. A person will come and contact the owner and says, I'll buy this from you subject to the approval.
But
and then he has to go and get approval.
So,
if he gets approval, then the deal is cemented, sealed. If he doesn't, he walks away.
So the other thing is that I just can't see us getting a lot line adjustment for this property to put 4 houses on it. There's not one of them pieces of property up there that have 4 houses on it.
Well, as I understand it, the lots have already been split into 4. What he
Right.
wants is another lot line adjustment to
Because
balance
they
them out.
can't get to the top of the 2 front lots, back lots.
Okay, so unless he gets the new lot adjustment,
I would,
yeah.
And the new lot adjustments is tweaking probably a couple feet either there. The old lots were about equal in 4,200, 4,100, stuff like that. The new ones, a little bit bigger in the fronts, a little bit smaller in the back. So the tweaking of it is immaterial in terms of the overall scope.
We not give them a lot line adjustment and let them appeal it to the city council. This is not a good project. This is going to be a disaster.
Well, I haven't heard any support for it.
Right.
I looked on the internet today and it says not for sale, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Have they signed any paperwork? This lot line adjustment document that we have talks about the property owner. They have to file an affidavit of ownership form. Has anybody completed this?
He has done that.
Okay.
Yeah. We won't accept the application unless it has that. If the applicant's not the owner, then they have to provide that to us before we'll accept the application.
So, with the current lot lines, can he build? Can 4 houses be built with the current lot lines?
He could, if he didn't want to build the homes that he would like, he could build currently the homes that Mr. Dubois has got approval for.
But that was approved in 2006. Do we know, did the attorney say that was still viable?
Still viable, and then I just say that if I can kind of read, this isn't a downzoning, but rather an involuntary merger, if you're asking him to get rid of the 2 lots. And I think you know that there was a involuntary merger trend in the 90s, and then the court started to strike down the involuntary merger. The Moorhead decision from the California Supreme Court found it illegal to require a merger of a parcel in common ownership as a prerequisite of an application for approval. There is also the Stellar decision from the same era, which the city was previously issued a certificate of compliance. The court held that there was 90 days to challenge the decision, and if it wasn't challenged, the lots were in compliance. If they were to look at the merger, I would think they would probably lose. San Juan Bautista has a merging ordinance, 10-2-1400, which is the place to start here. The lots are less than 5,000 square feet, but there are no other real qualified events, maybe the lack of access to the back lots. But then we have no way to get to force a merger with a certificate of compliance in place and a Supreme Court decision that says that we can't force merger as a prerequisite of development. If there was to start the process, the city would then have to file a notice and a hearing, to start the process. And my guess that the city would get sued. They initiated that.
So,
and I think it goes back to what I had said at the last month, that when the applicant gets approval from the Planning Commission and he acts in good faith and he does constructive effort to perfect that lot line adjustment, that certificate of compliance, that variance, he's expended money. That's constructive effort. And that, if the city then withdraws that within the 90 days, they're liable for that expense.
Now, who wrote this document? Who wrote this? The city manager or the lawyer?
The chronological one there.
Yeah.
That's my document where I researched.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, number 8 says, since no work was performed to advance the site and design review permit, the site and design review permit is void, and the applicant would have to resubmit for another application to continue work on the project. So whatever design was
the design review permit is for approving the houses on the lot, and he did not commence and get that followed up within 1 year. So the site and design review permit is null and void.
So he has to start over.
And he has to go back to you for approval.
So what was approved years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, the lots are legal, but the design review is not.
That is correct. Yes.
So at this point.
So, couple quick questions here. So let's. I'm going to make the presumption what Pat is saying is that there was a conflict of interest back in the day, making that whole transaction a non-legal act of the time.
Because back then, the original size for a lot was 7,000 square feet.
Well, no, but you were saying that there was a conflict of interest between
Matthews and the owner.
Right. So the cost that they put out on this, estimated, how much in cost is that?
I have no idea. That'd have to come from the owner, Mr. Dubois.
Somewhere around $12,800? In
terms of
the cost that he and the constructive cost and monetary amount that he would
constructive
have
effort? No, he'd have to qualify. He had an engineer do a record of survey. He had an engineer do the legal descriptions and the lot line. He recorded it. He had detailed plans submitted for the building and stuff. And so all of those, I'm not aware of what his costs are. It's not in the record.
I guess. I mean, I'm trying to.
He was shot down once before.
Yeah, I know.
Dubois.
Yes.
Dubois. What is he? Yeah.
Dubois.
Matthew was working as a consultant.
For both.
Well,
the city and him.
I don't know that. I don't really know how this worked, but I'm not sure the city was the city paying him, or was he working just as a consultant for?
No, he was our city planner.
He's paying the boys and the city was paying him.
Okay.
So he would put a deposit down for a project, excuse me, the applicant would put a deposit down for a project and they draw on that, and sometimes they go over, and this must be where the 12,000 came out. We didn't ask for the deposit.
Because at the time, these lots, the size of lots in San Juan were 7,000 square feet. These lots, there's two lots that are about 8,000 square feet apiece. Now we're trying to stick 4 houses right in the middle of a subdivision. It doesn't go. You go up there and look at that street, they got little cottages up in the back. It's really nice. Now, if you're gonna go stick 2 big old houses up there, and then people coming off that hill, it's gonna be steep. There's no place to turn around and get out of your garage.
Well,
Heaven forbid it be wet and then freeze.
yeah. I have to say that I live on a property where there's a shared driveway. So our house has a granny in the back and our neighbors have a granny in the back. And so our 2-car garage shares the driveway with the 1-car garage for the tenant. And it's not easy. And that's just with, maybe 4 people. But when you're talking about 4 houses with minimally 8 people, possibly more than that, negotiating?
The difference is, I think, in this is 2 of the houses will have direct access to 7th Street.
They'll be right on.
Only 2 houses will have the common driveway.
Okay.
But the trouble with that, by looking at the houses you have, to back out of your garage, you're gonna end up backing on the other guy's driveway and smack his car, and then they're gonna be a lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to fill that driveway and stack cars 2 by 2,
Yeah,
you can't even get into your own garage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
We allowed 4 houses to be built on an acre plus the remaining lot. That's 4 houses. They're trying to stick 4 houses on not even a half acre.
Well, the way I see it right now is that and we only just got this tonight, just a minute ago, so we haven't been able to
This is
study it.
dated November 24th, and we're just getting it seconds before the meeting. That's I would have liked to have been actually able to sit down and read this and look through this.
It sounds like,
And rightly so. It's a complicated issue, and it's going to take a lot of research and the deposition of what the position that the commission takes here. Obviously, if you deny it, then it's going to get appealed to the city council, and it'll set its course, but that's part of just the
process.
The process. Yeah.
The other thing, you were putting holding ponds in the bottom and the new pipes they put in. So that water's gonna seep across the road and go down on the other people's property on the other side.
No, that's part of this SWIP program, the State Water Prevention Pollution Control Program. And those things are contained, and then the discharge will be to a storm drain catch basin. They will storm drain catch basin and go underground from the site into the catch basin and then be discharged into the storm drain system. There's going to be no surface. The only surface drain will come from the lots to those collection galleries.
But there's no storm drain on that street all the way down to...
Right across the street.
There's not a storm drain there?
Yes, there is. It's a catch basin right across the street.
Well, that property is going to be a lot of concrete. So there won't be much soil to absorb the rainwater, right?
Yeah, it's the surface area will be quite a bit, and so there's going to be a lot of discharge, and so those collection galleries have to be designed according to it. Yeah.
So here's the theoretical. That we've got 4. Right now, there are 4 legal lots in that area. There was a design and site review 2006 that has expired. The applicant was making the statement that he'll just build those and that's that. If those design reviews come back to here with the setbacks that are this wide and non-conforming, I mean, that's...
There's no 15 foot behind the house.
Right. I mean, we got 5 feet, 7 feet.
Yeah. When the approval was granted, it was granted for a certificate of compliance, a lot line adjustment, a variance, and the variance was for the setbacks. And that was what was granted.
So if we follow this theory, that variance follows the property or the design plan?
It follows the property.
Follows the property.
Yeah.
The design
The
plan
only thing that did not follow was the site and design approval, and that has a 1-year limitation
Yeah,
on it.
that's done.
Right. No, I understand that. I'm trying to get that. It sounds like the properties as they stand have a variance for closer lot lines than what our current
normal requirements are. For, yeah.
So if we give them a lot line adjustment, does it still follow those properties?
Yeah, because basically the lot line adjustments is only tweaking it very minor. It's substantial just to increase the setbacks on the structures that they're proposing.
So the extra area they're getting, they plan on putting into the setbacks to get them further away from the...
That's correct. More open space, yeah.
I'd like to hear from the audience. Is there anyone with comments from the audience? Any speaker cards? No.
Really? Wow.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, how do you want to proceed?
It's not an easy decision, and I know that, and I would be the first to admit that there was some errors made back in 2006, and our job is that we have to honor what's on the books, show that it can be done, but if it's not what the commission there, then we'll go forward with it, and that's...
I'd like to see us deny it and let them appeal it to the city council.
So,
see what the city council does.
well, let me, I don't necessarily disagree, but let me ask how that process works. So if we do not pass this tonight and the applicant chooses to appeal it to the city council, and the city council overrules what we had thought, what happens from there? It then comes back to us?
Comes back to you, and and if they overrule you that they are legitimate lots, which they are, and they say, hey, but they don't have the site review, they'll send it back to you for site review so that you can approve the building that's going to be put on the 4 lots. Or,
Well, typically, the precedent that we have set is that we won't discuss an item unless the applicant is here. Do you want to continue that?
and that's what I would recommend is that have Mr. Vallis appear here and then state his case before you take any action on it.
Well, when last meeting, we asked that the district attorney be here at this meeting. She's not here.
City attorney.
She submitted her letter.
Because we can't ask her questions.
Yeah.
Legally, this thing is a mess. It's not good planning what they're trying to do here. I know what they're trying to do because they paid so much money for that land, they can't come out of it by building 2 houses.
What if they built 4 single-story houses?
They can't. You don't have the space for it. Because every house up there has about the same size lot in the area there. And a lot of them built little studios on top. One got a nice machine shop up there. One guy got a music room up there. The other one got an art room up there behind it. And that's pretty steep right there. Have you ever been up to look at it?
I visit my friend who lives next door, and the driveway's pretty steep now.
Myself, I don't think it's good planning.
Well,
it is. I mean, that's probably indisputable. I mean, it is what it is.
yeah, I mean, part of the problem is that there are 4 lots up there.
Yeah.
I think what we'd love to ask is, pretty please, would you break this into maybe 2 lots or possibly 3 and do something? But that's up to their discretion. So, yeah, I agree. This was beyond poor planning back in 2006, and sounds like maybe wasn't done properly to begin with. But so the question then becomes, do we as a and even if we were here, there's 4 lots there now. If there's nothing that we're going to be able to do to get that to be condensed back into a lesser lot size, given that plot, that bare area, then at that point, we as a committee, and I'm not ready to make a ruling on this, not without asking the attorney some more questions. But then at that point, if there are 4 legal lots and they are legal to build on, then we have to figure out what's best for that area. I mean, we sat during that meeting last time and listened to all those people, and they all had, I haven't heard anybody that supported this, with the exception of the applicant. So then at that point,
what would happen if the applicant came back and asked to build 4 1,000 square foot houses, single car garage, 2 bedrooms? How would you view that?
Our lot size right now, the smallest lot we go for right now is 5,000.
5,000, yeah. Mm-hmm.
These are under 5,000.
well, I know, but the problem is that it's existing, so we can't do anything about that. This again was poor planning back in the day, so there's nothing we can do about the fact. If this were a single 4,000 square foot lot sitting on 4th Street between a house, and there were a 4,000 square foot lot, would we tell them we're not going to let you build a house on here because it's only 4,000 square feet?
I would do. Feel this, we'll give him the lot time, let him take it to the city council. If the city council okays it, then it comes back to us again. Then we work on it.
No, I don't disagree, I guess, but going back to my question, if this were a single 4,000 square foot lot, let me make this clear. I'm not for there being 4 houses on there, but let's take this from a very practical point of view. If there were a 4,000 square foot plot of land sitting on 4th Street between a house, and it was 4,000 square feet, what would we allow them to build a house on that 4,000 square foot lot?
You couldn't deny them. It just
I want to make sure that we're all understanding that although we don't like the fact that it is 4 roughly 4,000 or 4,200 square foot lots, if you take it parcel by part, if this were a single parcel sitting somewhere else and they wanted to build a 1,000 square foot or a 1,200 square foot 3-bedroom 1-bath, or even you can build a halfway decent 3-2 in a 1,200 square foot setting. Would we deny that person and tell them no, you can't?
Well,
and the answer to that is no, we probably wouldn't. The fact that they're trying to jam 4 homes in an area where nothing else in the area is everything else is 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 square feet with a single home on it and maybe a little shack out back. That's the sticking point. But I think we have to kind of sit back for half a second and say, if this were individual 4,000 square foot lots, it's not that person's fault. The fact that this had a bunch of stuff that happened to make it in poor planning back in the day, unfortunately, we can't do anything about that.
But that property there was split in 4 lots without access getting to them lots.
That's up to the...
A good example, I bought some property on 5th Street.
Okay.
I wanted to build 4 houses, and the city shot me down so we could only build 3 houses. And that's going back in with the old Clumber property on 5th Street.
Okay.
And I had to put a 28-foot road back there. These are 12-foot.
I don't disagree.
We all agree that it was poor planning.
Poor planning.
But
there's
that's why I say that we deny it. Let it go to the city council. If the city council approves, go ahead and pass it, then we'll work it out.
So it seems like we have 2 choices right now. We can either continue to the next meeting. Pat, do you have your... continue to the next meeting. I'm not sure what we'll accomplish in the meantime, except that we can read these documents that we just got tonight. Or we could approve the project, or we could deny it. It could go to city council where there'll be an attorney, and then possibly come back.
I get the feeling that the developer is not going to he's not going to settle for anything but 4 lots. We can ask till we're blue in the face, hey, would you consider 3? and no matter how much we say it would really be better for the neighborhood, he's going to want 4 lots.
But Alvarez did not own this property.
I understand that, but that, from what I understand, is not really a huge issue. That is something that sounds like it's fairly common, and I would imagine it would be. The condition of me buying the home is I'm going to try to push this whole thing through, and if I can.
The first thing, that this shouldn't be at this meeting until the boys come in here and wrote a check for $13,000 and put it on the table.
No.
How long has that check been, how long, he's owed us that money for what, 7 years?
It's from 208.
Yeah.
But one of the conditions is that, in addition, the previous developer has an unpaid balance for planning review and processing. The applicant shall address the unpaid balance and cure the matter with the city prior to obtaining building permits. So before he can get a permit,
See, what's
Mr.
happening
Baez will
there,
have to pay that.
they're hoping this thing will pass by us for Alvarez to pay the $13,000.
I'm sure of it.
As opposed to Dubois?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't care how they do it.
yeah, I don't care either.
I honestly, I don't care how the money
I just
comes
think
back.
that this is one of the worst things we could do. Is pass
Agreed.
this project.
So what do you want to do?
I make a motion that we deny the lot line adjustment and let it go back to the city council. They're the ones that created this mess.
Well, that's not true. The city council didn't create it.
They were all involved in it. When they passed us, I was at meetings at the city council and planning commission. That's why we got that stop for each building houses.
You know, and if I can inject, if you make a motion to deny his request for a lot line adjustment, then he'll go back to the legal lots, which are almost identical, and says, okay, now I want to build on those 4 legal lots. So what you're denying is really immaterial. You know, he would like to have the adjustment so that it fits his creation of a house better than what Mr. Dubois had.
Well, what really is important is what's going to be
yeah.
best for San Juan. What will the
Yes,
neighbors be the most happy with?
Exactly.
And if a more balanced property might provide better looking houses, I just don't want them putting 2-story houses there.
For example, the 2 houses in the back are going to be 2-story houses.
Can we?
Split level.
But no, they don't have to be. We haven't approved
They
that.
have to be. There's no way out of it.
No.
Why?
The lot's too steep.
We haven't approved that.
We haven't approved anything.
No.
So,
But
That's where you're going.
I mean, I look at this one as there being two separate issues. One is, I mean, I know we're talking about it as a whole as it should be, but I mean, I'm just guessing here, and I'm not, you know, again, poor planning aside. At some point, there's going to be 4 properties that are going to be built on.
Not necessarily.
That could, I'm sorry, that could be,
If it goes in the court, it might
that
happen.
could be built on. But I mean, what I've briefly read here, it sounds like we would probably come on the bad end of that.
So then let's let the city council make that decision.
so if we don't get a second on that motion, the motion dies, and then what happens to it? It automatically will continue, or will it automatically go to council?
It will automatically, if it dies for lack of a second, you take no action on it, it'll be on the next council agenda.
Oh, so it won't come back to us.
Yeah, it'll be on your next agenda.
Yeah. So we'll be like continuing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I move that we continue this for the applicant to be president. President, wow. Well, who knows? Maybe that might not be so bad. I move that we postpone till or continue to the next meeting so that the applicant can be president, and also would request that the attorney be present so that we can ask the active questions as we go.
You asked for that last month.
I did ask for that last month when we all,
We didn't get it.
right, I understand that.
So at that point, what will you suggest?
If we don't get it next month,
Cancel again.
then we,
No, I'll reiterate that. Deborah was tied up with a lot of issues and stuff, and I asked her to, well, give me the report, you know, and it came in, and so
Also, I'd
if she
like
can
to
make
see
available,
a
you know.
letter sent out to everybody on that street,
Mhm.
be at that meeting when we have that meeting.
So you want it to be a public hearing?
It is a public hearing.
But I want a
And
notice sent to everyone that has it on that street.
They've all been noticed.
They've all been noticed.
I mean, we don't have to send out, notices don't have to be sent out every time. We're not obligated to do it. That's the thing.
Because you've been continuing this and continuing.
But we're jeopardizing their neighborhoods.
Well, I mean, let me throw this out in all honesty. Last month we had 3, 4, 5 different residents here,
No,
and this month we have.
Right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know one person had a previous engagement, another.
They could have written a letter. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I'm also trying to point out that they all had everybody who thought that this was an important issue could have written a letter saying, I'm sorry, but I'm still on vacation from Thanksgiving, but here's my feelings and thoughts on this again. They all could have done that if they couldn't have been here. They could have written an email, they could have sent a letter, they could have sent a smoke signal.
That they are watching tonight.
I'm sure.
The
You
dialogue.
know one thing, that I'm totally against this, I don't care what.
Oh, I'm not saying that I'm for it. I'm trying to be
We don't want to make the
realistic.
same mistake that happened in 2006.
Right. I'm trying to be very realistic in exactly what all that is.
All
So,
I'm saying is, you got a subdivision right at the end of that street, it's only building 4 houses on an acre. And we're turning over that little portion for 4 lots. They're legal lots, but they can't get to the back ones. Without a line.
Your microphone.
the microphone is,
Public reason.
It's a-
okay.
Apparently, it may not be on.
Okay. So,
Well,
So
let's-
I move that we continue this till next month so that the applicant can be present, and so that the attorney can also be present to answer the active questions that we will invariably have as this goes on.
And we also like to see the original plans they had for that project.
I would like to see the
why do we
original
want
plans.
to see them?
You know what? I really don't. It's a moot point.
Yeah, I don't know that
You
we
don't
want.
need to look at them?
Nope.
They're done. They're dead.
It's a moot point. It's
I
dead.
don't know that we
I
want
would
to
like
go
to
back
see a
there.
copy of the variance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we have a second?
I think that's important that we see the variance that deals with the setbacks and what were all the parameters within that, so that we can. I mean, I don't disagree that I'd love to make this a huge hassle, but the reality of it is there's 4 legal lots up there, and if this were an individual lot sitting on any other street in the city, we wouldn't be having this discussion. The fact that they're trying to pack them into an area where it doesn't really fit. I mean, he's asking for a lot line adjustment. Okay, doesn't mean that we're approving anything to be built on it. It just means we're allowing him to adjust the lot lines. That's all. I mean, that's all the first one's asking. But I want him here, and I would like the attorney here to be able to ask questions.
and so noted, I'll have the applicant advised and the attorney advised.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Tredisoff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco is absent. All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the speaker passes 3-0-1-0-1 with Commissioner Medeiros absent and Commissioner Franco absent.
Okay. Could somebody go get Mr. Franco? Oh, really? What? Let's say that. All right.
We should have had this last week. Yep, agreed.
So have we really haven't dealt with F.
Well stated.
Okay. You know, we might have gotten back prematurely. We really only decided on D.
Would that motion have continued both of those items?
Yeah,
Okay.
continue
Okay.
the lot line adjustment
Okay.
and the site and design review.
Okay, so now we're on G.
Okay. Dubois, oh, this is something new, okay. So what happened on these two, ENF?
Continuing.
Continued till next month.
Request the applicant be present and the lawyer be present.
Okay, and this is to the January meeting?
Correct.
Okay, I'll accept the gavel again. Now, consider a minor subdivision for 44 Church Street. Applicant, LV Inc., zoning a single-family residential. Assessors parcel number 002-290-039. Staff.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, the applicant has purchased the property on Church Street. It's approximately 10,842 square feet in size. It fronts on Church Street and it slopes in a, I'm going to say, southerly direction towards the Monterey Street. The difference in elevation is about 18 to 20 feet from top to bottom.
From the street to back.
From the street to back, yeah. The applicant is requesting to split the 10,842 into two lots, approximately 5,380 to 5,400 square feet, somewhere right in there, you know. And each lot will be approximately 5,300, 5,400 square feet. The applicant is intended to build on each home. He hasn't submitted a detailed thing. It'll have to conform to the criteria that the Planning Commission adopted back in August and September with regard to 5,000 square foot lots, and that's the FAR ratio. And I think on a 5,000 square foot lot is 45 is the FAR ratio, so the maximum site coverage can't exceed 45% of the 5,300 square feet, or approximately 2,200 square feet. You know, it will be the setbacks will have to conform to the standard setbacks, and in this case here, the setbacks on a 5,000 square foot are 5 foot on each side, 20 feet in the front, and 15 in the back. The depths of these lots here are about 129 feet, and the rear setbacks are going to probably be about, I'd say, 35 to 40 feet. He also, because the slope of the terrain goes away from Church Street, it creates a storm drain dilemma, because the surface water from all the structures will drain to the lowest point, and it doesn't have access to Monterey Street, so they will have to put their collection galleries, some type of a French drain and a berm to keep surface water from encroaching upon a property that's downhill.
Where would that French drain out to?
Yeah, and it will drain into a collection gallery, and then a pump system will have to be put up there to where it will be either discharged upwards to Church Street and drained, or drained and discharged to Monterey Street through some type of an easement. So those are things that he's going to have to work out in terms of how he wants to obtain that. The same thing applies to the sewer system. If the finished floor of the unit is below the invert elevation of the sewer line on Church Street, then he would have to put some type of a pump system for the sanitary sewer.
I got a question. Is there a right-of-way, Roger, down here alongside on this other lot to go out down to the lower street?
No, there's no.
There's no right, because I see a sewer line coming from the house on the left there.
Yeah, right. That was put in for that house to the left of him.
They don't have a,
yeah.
You can't get a right-of-way to come down that to get the sewer out of there?
That's something that he would have to discuss with the property owners and stuff like that, yeah.
Are you talking about lot 40 or 46?
43, I think.
41 obtained a sewer line that goes down to Monterey Street to serve the APN 41 lot.
Because the wiring house in the bottom had a basement on it, and they need to get 4.5 feet of water in it.
Yes.
They do have a problem with runoff right there.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of water.
And you can see the low elevation of this property is 215, and it's 230 at the top. So there's 15 feet of difference in elevation, and it culminates down at the east corner. And that's probably where the collection gallery will be situated and handled to either pump it or drain it some way through an easement.
Would it pay for the city to see if they can get a right of way down to you? To get out down to that street?
Yeah, and that's what I suggested, that the applicant talk to the owners downhill, because I'm sure the present situation where it drains to the southerly direction is impacting the property owners downstream, and if they could come to a solution where it would improve that, and even if without the lot line adjustment, it was only one, and they put one big house there, they'd still have the same problem.
Right. Because it's the Warwick house over here, when the city put the new stones in, and they just put a plug, and I guess that house is the only one hooked up on that street that goes down to the sewer line, and they flooded out in their house.
So which house is that?
This is the Warwick house on the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side, 29.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's...
Is the current sewer line for between 41 and 43, is that large enough to carry 2 additional homes?
Yes.
It is large enough.
Yeah. And it goes back to, I guess the philosophy there is, when the lots were created, nobody thought about the things that we come up with now in terms of drainage and stuff and impact like that. When those lots were created, between Monterey and Church Street, they should have had a design to say, how are you going to address that? Maybe easements and curbs and storm lines coming up.
Good.
And unfortunately, that didn't take place.
The Mitch package house, the 2 condos, and Cajanos and Warwick, they all go out to the street down below.
They all go out to Monterey Street, yeah. And that's when we did the Ottoboni little minor subdivision where we split the 2 lots and they built the 2 nice little smaller ones there. We found that the sewer lines all go out to the Monterey Street, yeah.
Not that there's any connection. I mean, I don't know how to approach this diplomatically, but I think that LV Inc. is Alvias. I saw that on the internet. It indicates that he owns that company too. And so talking about lot splitting makes me a little worried again.
Well, this one is legal for us to split.
But it would never be split again in the 4.
No,
Couldn't.
Our smallest one we go is 5,000 square feet. So
and
he's 55, 5,300, 5,500.
Yeah. You couldn't.
And
you couldn't split it more than 2 ways.
I've talked to Al about it, because I says that there are some constraints on this, and you're going to have to work hard to address the constraints. Unfortunately, it's not just a regular developable lot, and I think he wants to work with the owners to address as much as he can.
My suggestion would be, there's a 2-story house on one side, a single. I'd say that next to the 2-story house, it goes a 2-story house and a single-story house next to the Warwick house.
He's not present here tonight.
I'd move for a continuance to allow him to be here to talk with us about it, because he's got some major issues.
Yep.
And if he's not aware of them, we want them to be made aware of them publicly, and maybe help him, to make it work.
I'd like to see if they could do it, because the pumping station is not good when the power goes out. So if they could get a right of way down through there, it would be the greatest thing they could do.
Okay, that's a good point.
I would recommend that we continue this, and then I'll have, and I've advised Mr. Vias to go to all the neighbors and talk to them about it, and he said he was committed to do that.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him lately because I'm sure he's probably committed some other place.
I think the guy that owns that lot there is Raymer.
Chalmer Raymer, yeah. He came in to see us, him and his wife Jackie, and we talked about it, and he said that he gets water just from the bare lot into his structure down below.
So hopefully he'll be able to have talked to the neighbors by the next
probably
meeting.
The nice part about it is if we can solve a lot of these problems, then everybody will benefit from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a good idea.
We need to.
It's odd how they formed that lot between 39 and 40. You notice there's a 41 and 42, 43. There's a horizontal line there,
That's
and
the
that
line.
horizontal line goes across, and this one goes below it,
Yeah.
making a smaller 40 and a bigger 39.
There's nothing funny about that, considering where we are.
Actually, I don't. Like I say, if we've got other 5,000-foot lots in the area, it's probably the kind of a lot that this ordinance.
You can see the map previous to that where I drew it in, and the red. You can see where this lot is, and there are a lot of other little smaller lots.
The lots that
And all of those lots
know
that
this one.
all those lots at front on that one side of Church Street all drain towards Monterey
Monterey.
Street.
All the lots up above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good
well,
engineering project. Okay,
I move that we continue this discussion to the next meeting.
is there a second on the motion?
I second.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Freitas?
Aye.
Chairman Brinko?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 4001 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay, we now go to 5H. Consider a lot line adjustment for John Nyland and Barbara Kozam, APN 002-540-007. Zoning is low-density residential and agriculture. So, staff.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, this lot here is owned by John Nyland and his sister, Barbara, and they've requested to do a lot line adjustment. And it's a little complicated because in the lot line adjustment regulations, in order for you to do a lot line adjustment, you have to have contiguous property. Contiguous means that you got to be there. Now, if you look on your Exhibit A map, and up in the left-hand corner, there is Parcel 3. And Parcel 3 is combined of Lot 9 and 20 of the outlots that were split and by the state highway. And these are the residuals of Lots 9 and 10. Lot 9 goes all the way to McCollum Street, and Lot 20 goes all the way to McCollum Street by Valeros. They were originally large lots, and they ended up with Mr. Nyland owns the residuals of Lot 9 and 20. He has got the line between them, and he is merging those two lots and creating two smaller lots into a 1.18 lot. And it's contiguous to Parcel 1 at an apex right there along Lawston Drive as it enters the entrance to our high zone reservoir. Okay?
Where is the reservoir?
The reservoir is on that rectangular piece to the left by the north arrow.
I'll go to the other map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. The rectangular piece to the right is the old Harvey Nyland's house parcel, and there's an existing structure there, and it has been sold to a new owner. He's taking that line between lots 9 and 20 of the outlots on Parcel 3 and moving it over and splitting the line, the 10-acre parcel between lot 1 and 2, and he's creating the new line there, and you see it says new line 21910. Okay, and that is the existing line between lots 9 and 20 of the outlots is moving over to there. Okay, so basically lots 1 and 2, that was one 10-acre parcel, and now it's going to be a 4-acre and a 6-acre parcel.
And
Okay.
one person owns one, and wait, right now it's Parcel 1?
Right now, John Nyland and Barbara, she was in Nyland, own outlot 9, 20, parcels 1 and 2. They own it.
That's a 10.121 acres.
Yes, right. So they'll own it.
And what's the purpose?
The purpose is that to sell a 1 10-acre lot is not as marketable as to sell a 4-acre and a 6-acre lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just makes it to where they're more manageable and somebody can afford to buy it. Yeah. Okay. Now, the Achilles heel of that is what doesn't show on this map, is that these are steep hillside lots. And I've been pushing the commission to adopt the hillside regulations, which is on your agenda tonight. And I'm adamant that we got to get going on it, because not only that, because you got to go and recommend to the city council, and then the city council's got to hold a hearing, first introduction and reading, and that's a 90 to 120 day process before it becomes effective.
Now, for the record, inside of this thing, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that 7-sided figures, is that the lot that we used for the rest home?
Yeah, that was the Harvey Nyland's there, and that was the one that we approved for a rest home. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so the access to parcel 2 is going to be off of that steep road that didn't make it for the rest home.
Yeah, up that steep road of Loston Drive, up around here, and then they're creating an easement across part of Lot 1 and part of the triangular piece of the former Harvey Nyland's piece, and that will be the access to Lot 2.
Wow.
Wow, it is.
That's why they created the science of engineering and survey.
It's a convoluted lot line adjustment, but it meets all of the regulations, particularly with the conditions that I've put on it, because the parcel 3 is an agricultural zone, and the agricultural zoning requires 5 acre. That's the lot size for our agriculture parcel. Well, the 1.8 is substandard, so in condition 3, I have there that the applicant will record a deed restriction on the property with the county recorder's office for parcel 3, a 1.8 acre parcel consisting of a portion of outlot 9 and 20 to be non-conforming, doesn't conform to the zoning ordinance, and non-buildable. Until a legal 30-foot wide ingress, egress, and public utility easement is recorded for the parcel. Because right now the only access point is a point adjacent right there in Loston Drive, and you'll see it as it comes to a point right there in Loston Drive. And until they provide a 30-foot access to make it legal, I'm saying is it's non-buildable.
Copy that.
You see what I'm talking about?
But even, I mean, it might even be unbuildable because of its
the terrain too.
Terrain, yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. But I can't say that because those regulations are not enforced.
Not in place yet.
Yeah, right.
Are the applicants aware of the hillside regulation that we've been talking about? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But they're not in the building and development. They have no desire to do that. They have it up for sale and everything. And that's why I wanted to get the regulations adopted for the new applicant that's going to buy this. He's going to come to you and says, I want to do this. You know, I want to do something. And you have to have the tools to...
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this project, other than the applicant? No. Okay. Would the applicant like to step forward and comment on this? Would you like to say anything on this?
I don't think John and Barbara are not here.
I'm sorry. I
thought so too.
Yeah, no. John lives in Seattle, and Barbara lives down in Southern California with her mother. Yes. And the applicant's engineer is Associate Engineering Ann Hall and Ken Weatherly.
Okay.
And I've talked to them, and they've looked at the conditions, and they agree with them. Yeah.
Well, consistent with our policy that someone should be there from the applicant's side.
Yes.
But since they live out of the area.
At what distance
I
does
would
that?
say is if you wanted the applicant, neither one probably could come, is they would probably have their representative, either Ann Hall or Ken Weatherly, you know.
I think there should have been an applicant. I said just the fact that it's an application. I've always felt it's to do honor to the applicant. We'll continue it to allow you to be there for the next time to talk about it. But commissioners have any comments?
What? No, I kind of agree that some representatives should be here to represent the application. I can appreciate the fact that you're probably not going to fly down from Seattle to come here, but I'm sure that you have contacts or somebody that could. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then the question becomes: is at what point do we say, well, if you live 200 miles away, don't worry about it, but at 195, we really like to see you here. So, but yeah, I think there should be some representative here.
Yeah,
I'm not strictly opposed to it. I think.
And I know I've sent the staff report to Ann Hall and Ken Weatherly. They're aware of it, and I went over it. Because originally, when they submitted the thing, I rejected the application, you know, and because when I first looked at it, I says, it's not adjacent, you know. And so then we examined it, and it's adjacent by a distance of about 4.5 feet at that point low there. And I says, okay, it's adjacent. So now I had to retract my cancellation of it and just says, all right, now it's adjacent. Now let's go back and see if it works. And that's when we went and looked at lots 9 and 10, and they either be substandard, but lots 1 and 2 would be standard. You know, it's an R1 zoning, and the minimum is 7,000 square foot
That's what
lots.
happened when they put that highway through there, they cut that property right through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other comments, the chair will entertain a motion for action.
I'll move that we continue Resolution 2015, and I've lost track, 40.
Double X.
Double X at this point.
To the next meeting, and invite the applicant to have some representation here.
I'll second.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Grunstaff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 4001. Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Okay. Next item is something kind of almost related. Consider Resolution 2015-XX recommending to City Council an ordinance regulating hillside development.
Okay. Now, after last month's meeting, we had Kara Vonk, and she said it was not a stiff enough thing for the stuff. And I went through each section there and intensified the regulations of the design review. And in the design review, it says all development in the hillside, we submitted pre-application, and we'll go through the applications for grading and the pre-application. We'll meet with the staff. We'll go through and identify all the constraints and stuff like that, and and come up with the things. And it really says now they're prepared to submit an application, and the application has got to conform to 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's where I want you to pay attention to it, is that the application shall prepare by a qualified engineer and building designer or illustrator the proposed improvements on a plan that is no less than 24 by 36 in length. The plan shall be drawn to scale, containing the legend, the contours, the tree locations in there. The plan shall show the amount of excavation and building and stuff. The plan shall show the zoning designations and everything. He shall submit 3 sets of their. The plan shall be accompanied by a geotechnical report, technical documents, constraints. Once the plan has been accepted and complete, the plan set shall be scheduled, and the applicant shall be considered for the Planning Commission. A public hearing upon approval can obtain grading, permit works, and stuff like that. So that's the procedure, okay?
Okay. So
now, in that procedure, The very thing in item 2A has been changed. Location of structure in relationship to the balance of grading, visual impacts, and preservation of viewshed to minimize the environmental impacts. That's the same wording. But then I added, proposed developments on or near the ridge line shall provide a cross-section view drawing to approximate scale that shows the location of the building structure, height of the highest roof ridge, elevation of the highest elevation of the natural ridge line, finished pad elevation and cut slope, fill slope, and all retaining walls, gravity walls, and proposed trees, landscaping to soften the view shed from the view area of the street, road, and highway within 1/4 of the mile. It's all been there. That's what Caravan was telling you about was there was nothing to prohibit us from denying development on a ridge. And we're saying is they have to submit that stuff and they can be right below the ridge, but the highest point of their roof can't exceed the highest point of that ridge. See, they could be right on this side or right on the back side.
So them 3 houses that were up there, if we pass this, would never be built, then I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Here it says 1/4 mile, but elsewhere it says 1/2 mile. On Article 3.
Article 3, did I have 1/2 mile in there?
Yeah, number, item 3. All locations that are visible from the nearest point along said view
Oh,
shed.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we should change that then to a 1/2 mile. Yeah.
A half mile.
Yeah, right.
And I was wondering if even that's enough. So yeah, you don't want the 1/4 mile.
Yeah.
Where was the...
A 1/2 mile is 2,640 feet. And
so
the sad part about it is that there's only a finite area of ridge line that is applicable to us. And so I measured from the ridge down to the state highway 156, and it's right about 2,000 feet.
Okay, like to the Alameda? Or we're not talking about the 156?
156.
But
yeah.
Beyond the Alameda, we're not talking about that 156.
No, yeah. If you were talking about standing at the brewery, no, you would probably be about 3,500 feet from the ridge line.
So, just for my mind, we're taking out 1/4 mile and making it 1/2 mile?
1/2 mile, yes.
Okay. Since this is an ordinance, we want it to be as technically correct as we can.
Yeah.
On page 3, on number 5 at the top, property designated, and then capitalized Hillside Overlay District. I believe that's the name of the map.
Yeah, every time that term is used, it should be capitalized.
And then municipal code should be capitalized. Under interpretation, in the 4th line, should be envelope with an E at the end.
On the 4th line, envelope?
Yeah, envelope.
Yes.
It's missing an E.
Go back to page 2.
Page 2.
Under intent.
Intent.
Line 3 should also be designated with a D at the end.
Okay, yeah. Missed that one.
And what did you want in line 3? Framework and appropriate development is designated hillside area?
Yeah.
Designated,
just add a D at the end of designate.
Okay. Then on page 4, number 7, contour grading that results in.
And shouldn't it be naturally contoured earth forms?
Naturally.
And resembles?
And you're on item 4, balance?
Number 7. A grading
7.
concept that results...
Grading contour, a grading concept that results in natural contoured earth form and resembles natural terrain characteristics.
Yeah.
That results in a natural.
Okay. Okay, then on page 5, number 33.
And
Second.
Wait, real quick on 7. And resembles natural terrain?
Resembles.
Okay. Resembles. Sorry, missed that one too.
It takes a village.
On page 5, on the number 33, the second line, range that separates a drainage basin. I think delete A.
Go up to 32. Remodel, an improvement or alteration. Take out the N.
Oh, yep.
Okay, we're good there.
Number 35. A visible cut in a hillside with a slope greater than the natural surrounding slope in which all topsoils have.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And number 36, the second line, the meeting will address.
Oh, I read this. Page 7, D at the top. Exterior elevation of the primary structure. Delete of.
D or B?
D is in Delta.
D, okay.
Above that.
It would have been nice if you guys would have let us know, and I could have had her proof those, all this stuff.
I got to them late,
yeah.
otherwise I would have.
Exterior elevations of the primary structure showing architectural design, roof pitch, roof material, and colors.
Buildings.
That
So
would be
buildings.
consistent with the surrounding environmental features and terrain.
Okay. Those are minor, but I'd rather we do it here than have the council sit there and do it.
Scratch their head. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public? Last shot before you go to council. Okay, commissioners, any last comments? I think it's well put together. Granted, a lot of it's outside of our area, but we can at least go to the county and say, look, we have an ordinance trying to protect things, and we want you to cooperate with us. And we've got something solid to work with.
On page 2, item 2, all locations along the viewshed corridors of Highway 156, Salinas Grade Road, San Juan Canyon Road, and San Juan Highway. What about,
That should be locations.
what about including Mission Vineyard Road? Or is that redundant? Or San Juan Hollister? Wait, San Juan Highway is the same as the San Juan Hollister?
156 San Juan Highway South, yeah. That's
San Juan,
the same.
San Juan Highway is the one that goes up to
It's 129. This goes out toward.
Okay. So what about the San Juan Hollister Road and Mission Vineyard Road? I don't know. Maybe that's included as the viewshed of Highway 156.
They're 100 feet within 156.
Quarters of 156, Salinas Grade Road 156 includes San Juan Hollister Road.
Okay. And Mission Vineyard?
Okay. And then Mission Vineyard.
Okay. Any last comments?
So if we would have had this ordinance already, then that water tank would be in violation, right?
We could always exempt
Have to refer this into the.
It's the city. We can
manager.
exempt ourselves. Not a big deal.
We don't want to. We don't want to roll them down
Yeah, I
the hill.
know.
So
Paint the top
I
half
missed
blue
last month's
so
meeting,
it
but
blends into
were the errors
skyline.
correct? The minutes said that the errors would be corrected as noted last month. Were they?
No.
I think a lot of them were.
There's
Some of them were.
Some of them were. Some of
Okay.
them weren't.
And the intent,
Most of them were.
The intent has been clarified.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that just that little window dressing to keep the council from sitting there and doing that and saying, hey, what kind of turkeys we got down there? Okay, there being no other comments, commissioners, the chair entertains a motion for action on this hillside regulations.
I move that we pass resolution number 2015,
43.
is it 43? A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the hillside development regulation and recommending to the City Council amending the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code, adding Chapter 11-08 Hillside Development Regulations.
I'll second that motion including the revisions that we just made.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Grossack?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 4001 with Commissioner Medeiros absent.
Look at all he missed tonight. Okay. Consider, this is a 5J, consider approval of the general plan background report, the final environmental impact report for the general plan, and the 2035 general plan. And there are 3 resolutions to go, the background report, the final EIR, and the general plan.
Well, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I'm going to turn this over to our ex-planner and consultant now, because we've continued to employ him to marshal this general plan right along, and he's done an outstanding job, and he has most of all the answers. And so I'm going to turn it over to Matt. You know.
For the general public, this is Matt Obach, and he used to be our city planner before he went off to more exciting places.
The world of water.
The beaches.
Yeah, the beach.
He calls it the water, but it's really, he's a surfer, but he works for a water district, at least he can stay with water.
And then we want to make sure that we congratulate him because he is getting married.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
The first 2 weddings. Roger will be at the second one.
Oh, good. Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't really have anything to present. I did a lot of the formatting and review of these documents. What I did notice earlier tonight, looking through this when I got here, was that the EIR was modified after I sent my final version in, and it really messed up a lot of the formatting. So none of the content, but this needs another sort of just once over to make sure all the graphics are visible and the footers are spelled right and things like that wouldn't have gotten past me. So other than that, which I'm very aware of, I already made a full list of notes and page numbers of all the things that need to be fixed. I was just looking for feedback on, in particular, the general plan, because that's the biggest, most important part of all of this, which I feel, in my editing opinion, is pretty tight. And then anything else on the EIR, which obviously is, legally very important.
So you feel is that it should be corrected before we adopt it, I know we had a hard time getting it printed because every time we would send it to the printer, the thumb drive would bounce out after a couple pages, and finally we got a version of it to where, and it was frustrating because we couldn't get it.
And mainly just the EIR? That was the only
Just the EIR. The general plan and the background went right on through of what you edited. But for some reason, the thumb drive, and it got into the printer computer, and it got rejected several times, and we finally we downloaded it, continued it on and over the website, and that was the one that was flawed. I guess there was something that was in there that just didn't gel.
Significance I see is that these documents are going to be used for the next 20 years. And everybody's going to look back at it, and if there's, where did this come from? You go to the background report, and there's confusion there, and all of a sudden everything after that loses credibility. And that's why I've stressed with our ordinances that they be letter perfect, so the council doesn't start wondering what do we mean. It's there perfect, and I just want them to say, thank you, move to approve, and put it through. So how much time would it take to do that, to go through that?
This would probably be another 5 or 6 hours probably to fix all that. The problem with these huge documents is they make one change and sort of a ripple effect in a lot of the chapters, and that's what happened with a lot of the graphics, it looks like. So it would just take probably a day, not more than that.
If we could delegate Matt to format it and then give us with a thumb drive, then we can have copies new prints,
Yeah.
you know, so that we can get there. Because I agree that we want to make sure that it's consistent with our general plan and our background report, and it has addressed all of the issues and it's consistent.
So I look back now and say, how could these guys have done that? You know, certain issues that we've had in the last 4 years. And I don't want people looking back and say, how could that commission have put something like this out and cause us grief, 15 years from now? And that's why I would support that we go through that thing and make sure that's where we want it to be.
Well, that's why I said we should have a separate conversation about the general plan, because I know Chairman Franco mentioned outside, I was talking to him while he was
Oh, yeah.
Sequestered.
outside of chambers.
No sedation.
And he had some issues with simply the way Dr. Norsu had us format the goals and things like that. I can go through and change them. They're all consistent with each other, but he didn't like the format because they're not complete sentences. It was sort of set up as the community should be this, and then it was sort of like the end of the sentence. And it's consistently that all the way through, but we can change that if you would like to and give it some more flow.
See, I'm looking at a goal should be something we're going to strive for, and it should say so. And I think when we first got here, we had just had the sign code tossed back at us. Not no, but heck no. And so we spent the next 3 or 4 years working on that sign code word for word, taking out extra text that was more policy than it was ordinance, and made that thing worked with the business people to make sure that it was, legally correct, technically correct, and legally defensible. And I would like the general plan to be the same thing, so that you get out here and, well, that's not really a goal, that's more like a statement. Well, what did they really mean? And again, 15 years from now, just like we're looking back at some of the issues that were really botched up before us, I don't want them looking back on us like that. So I'd be glad to work with you, whoever it take to,
Like
sure.
I said, I'm basically a consultant, same thing as staff. I mean, we can cater this to whatever you like. It was set up like that on purpose, with the goals being very broad and, a little less vague, just sort of like this is a dreamy version of what we like, in a very short sentence. And then if you notice, they get more and more wordy to get down to objectives, policies, programs. And that's how it should be, because really all you're going to be doing when you guys are dealing with it, dealing with the programs for the most part. The other things are just sort of guiding principles and things like that. So. But
again, just looking at it from a planning perspective, they should flow to the top. Everything down here should support the line before it to the point, say, we want peace on earth. Fine, it's going to take a war to end all wars. It's going to take, prisoners, et cetera, et cetera. But when it goes to the top, if you take anything to a high enough level of abstraction, at some point everybody will agree with you. And so that was Woodrow Wilson. But thing is that I would like to see them just being solid.
Okay, but it's also a matter of time. I know we're trying to get this package through, and that's going to be redoing every single one, because I know their uniforms. I went through and made sure that they work. So we can do that, but maybe that could be
I think everything is there. I think the concepts, the things, it's just that the way it's presented leaves a lot of doubt in there. And again, it may have been the format, maybe just somebody slipped a word. Some of the stuff I've seen can be fixed up. I have some others that I do have some concern about the actual content. I don't feel that when you're dealing with housing that putting parking is an obstruction. I think it's a needed thing in neighborhoods, because you can destroy a neighborhood by putting a bunch of houses with no parking. All of a sudden you got people going on for miles looking for a place to park. I mean, this isn't San Francisco. I see the students are very strong on walkability, the fact that you could go from place to place either with your bicycle, and maybe bicycles are coming back in. They were very popular once upon a time, and then California got sold in the car. But in the smaller areas and maybe emerging areas, from historical to urban outside, I think I agree with them. Bicycles, it would be a way because it's easy to park.
Well, historically, our focus has been to be a walkable town, so I think they're echoing what they've heard from the public.
And I'm really glad that they did that, because...
And I think that was what Amanda says, a reflection of all the workshops we had where that was emphasized, and I have a lot of notes that we took where they wanted it to make it more walkable, more pedestrian oriented.
And I think that comes through real clear.
Mm-hmm.
Really clear. So, commissioners, what do you got? Let's hear some comments.
Yeah, I mean, my only comment is that this is a document we're going to need to refer to over the next 20 years. And as much as it pains me to think of reading 1,384 pages of document, I quite honestly think I need to be reading all 1,384 pages of this document. I mean, I've read sections and pages and been to the workshops and strategic plan committee, but I have not read the thing front to back and nose to tail. And I have been asking for the last couple of months and been told it's not coming to planning. And then 2 weeks ago, guess what? You've got to read 1,384 pages. So I need to read through this document. Luckily, there's lots of pictures. I mean, pictures are always cool. But I feel like I will absolutely need some more time. I mean, I think the concepts the students did and the workshops, especially the last couple, have been, really constructive. But I have not been able to go through and review how they were integrated. So for me personally, I would need at least another 30 days to get through that. And considering the time of year, that might be a tall order.
What deadline do we have, or what is our timeline?
Well, I mean, we were pushing to have it approved in June, and here it is now in December. So, and there are a couple projects that are pending that depend on it. So, I would say that if we could bring it back at the next month, and then, because then it's got to go to the city council the following 2 weeks, and then it might be delayed there. So,
Well, I don't think we want to rush, and we did just get it.
Yeah, I mean, 30 days, quite honestly, given the time of year, 30 days is going to be a big push. I'm trying to be as committed to this position as I possibly can be, but there are times when family does take precedence. And I know this document has been worked on, and I know we want to get it through, and there might be things done, but I don't think I'd be doing my due diligence if I didn't read through it all. 30 days for me would be probably pretty tough at this point. A couple of the quick notes, and I don't know whether it's a formality or not a formality, but as I was reading through like the background, the first few pages where it lists out city councils and planning commissions and stuff, it gives the date of November of 2015, and then it gives planning commissioners that are no longer on the commission. It gives strategic plan members who are no longer on the strategic plan. Not that they don't need to be noted, but I think it would be...
if they were ever there, all you do is put a star that says...
They participated.
Yeah, they were,
no, I'm not. No, I certainly don't want to take that away from it, but I know that we have a new planning commissioner and new council members who are labeled on there, and there are also strategic plan members that have been in and not been in that need to be named and labeled. That's just more of going through and making sure that stuff. But
Can I interject one thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That was finished, basically all of the writing of that was finished in the fall and winter of 2013. So that's very old, and I think that's going to be fine because those are the people that contributed.
Sure.
We can change wording and stuff, but I don't know if I'd put a current planning commission on there when you really didn't work on it. And then with this one, it's a much more sort of scientific document, and you can play around with a little bit of the wording, but those are scientific results that they're putting in the environmental impact report. So
right.
We can't change too much of that either, other than grammar, without compromising sort of the integrity of the document. The big one that we can change a lot of and say whatever you folks want is the general plan. So just keep that in mind when we're making changes.
Sure.
But one was done a long time ago, and if you want to touch it up a little, that's fine.
I'm not. Yeah, my whole thing about naming out the people is that it has the date of November of 2015, and that's okay. And that might just be a formality, and it might be
I think we just updated that for this package that we're bringing to you, but I can actually, if you want, for the final package to you, just put the original date back on it of when it was completed, just for accuracy.
Yep. No, I certainly want to give the credit to the people who have put in a heck of a lot more time than I have.
Speaker cards.
Are there any speaker cards in this?
Yeah, I think Georgiana wanted to get it.
Got speaker cards?
Excited.
Okay.
Seniority.
Thank you. Now we have some comments from the public for the record, and please call them out as you see them.
Georgiana Galactic.
Name is familiar.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. What are you doing up here? I thought you were in the back of
I
this.
was in the back of the room.
You graduated to the front row.
I'm proud that Eric has replaced me. He brought up a couple of comments. I don't believe that the whole planning commission has actually seen it all together in one quiet place. I made a few remarks to myself and notes the other night, and something like we carried on all of this discussion in a room that nobody could hear in, but you've heard me say that before. I actually am here to say, I'd like to say farewell to the old general plan because it has served us well as a really fine tool. And I'm looking forward to you using this new one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and thank you.
Catherine.
It's okay. A-Strike.
A-Strike.
Catherine A-Strike with Edenbridge Homes, and I just wanted to be here tonight to commend the effort of the commissioners, the council, the staff, the students, Matt, the students from Cal Poly, because I did attend a few of the workshops, and they were always very professionally presented, and it looked to me like the community was involved. And I know that I didn't attend all the workshops, but I knew there were quite a few. And it is a big undertaking, the amending of a general plan and the EIR. And as formatting aside, I mean, Commissioner Franco, I've been in your seat before for a different city, and I've done the same. I've tossed it out and say, go back and format it, because it's not going to council this way. So I understand that. I mean, I do understand that. But I just wanted to make sure that I commended all of your efforts, because it is a huge undertaking, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. We got some thanks. Very nice.
Thank you.
Can we make a note of that?
Any more?
We appreciate that you sat through the long meeting to tell us that.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, any last comments? Then the chair entertains a motion for action. 30, 60, 90?
Well, yeah, just real. I mean, there's not much other than reading the EIR that. I mean, there's nothing I'm going to be able to add, subtract, or make comments on other than. I mean, these people are higher pay grade than I am. That's for sure. The background notes are just that. They're just a background notification.
The purpose of that was mainly to inform ourselves before we started writing the actual general plan of what this place is about. So a lot of that was mainly research for the students to get to know the place. And so it's not really a guiding document, it's just a document that informs everything. And I would say too, if you really want to go through and, like Commissioner Franco said, or Chairman Franco said, go through like we did with the sign ordinance, maybe you could direct it to go to the strategic plan committee. I don't know what they're dealing with these days, but that's a nice small group setting, and I know that they went through the strategic plan element of the general plan and did a really good job. Really looking into the wording of things. Commissioner Guibert and a few other people really had some great feedback on that, policies, programs, etc. And that group's open to anyone who wants to come in and give feedback. So that might be a good place to sort of, workshop the general plan if you want to do wording and stuff. And then, I could just help make the final changes. The problem is I just can't be here all the time. Mm-hmm. I want to help out as much as I possibly can because, this is...
It's your baby.
These are my babies. Until I So yeah, I'd probably recommend some smaller group setting where a lot of people can give feedback and, actually sit around and chew on it a little bit. And then maybe come back to me with the changes, and I can do the formatting and all the rest. So.
Well, certainly we can bring it up for John.
Yeah, the time of year is just.
I know.
We'll have David next time too.
Yeah.
What?
David.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Medeiros.
Yeah, because he's had a lot of excellent comments on that too.
30, 60, 90?
Yeah, I mean, the EIR really is probably not the 400 and some odd pages that I'm going to really scope on too much.
There's a lot of stuff in it. It's good background.
No, I agree. But the general plan, I will need a minimum of 30 days just to get through that. And given the time of year, I mean, I hate to push this out to February, but
Then do it.
yeah.
You got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to be at the next meeting and you needed 3 more days.
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah.
That'll give him time to work with us too.
What projects are dependent on this?
Well, I think we have a couple tentative maps that are reflected where the zoning is reflected in the new general plan versus the thing, and I think those are the ones that are going to be sitting on the sidelines, wait until the new general plan is approved.
I think that's okay.
60?
I think 60.
I would feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, 60 gives me plenty of time.
Motion for action?
60 days?
Yeah.
60 days. I move that we continue this until the February meeting. And as clarification, if I see things that I believe need to be tweaked, do I refer those to you, to Matt? Is Matt?
You refer them to us, and then we'll get a hold of Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So if
He may be hard to find.
Yeah. It's important is to get into dialogue and then not wait till the meeting and say, oh, this is wrong.
Right, no, agreed.
So we
Call him.
have, right.
Call him as you find him.
Yep.
And again, this is, what would you want? You want page number, line number?
Page number.
And just what line on the page?
Document, page number, paragraph, sentence.
If you don't mind, hold off on the ER, because that's going to change based on the formatting I have to fix. So
Okay.
let me get you the final before you start looking at that, so start with the other ones.
Start with the general plan.
Yeah, general plans.
Yep.
And which one did you say not to
The
send?
EIR is a technical document that addresses the no growth, the growth, and the impacts and the mitigations, and it has to be very scientific in relationship to the CEQA guidelines.
Which is the one that
And
you said
the
not
background
to?
report.
Background
is the
report.
one
Okay.
And this is just
you have some stuff you wanted, but that was just sort of
Just a lot of neat stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir,
So, what document is actually reviewable?
all 3 of them. The background report is available.
It's reviewable, but this is more of the establishing the context of how the city's going to go about doing it. And it's really just more of a preamble.
You lay out all the
general plan.
information, and from there you say, this is the problem. How do you know? Because we went out door to door and checked this neighborhood, etc. And from that, you say, okay, if we do plan A, B, or C, what would happen to this area? As the environmental impact says, okay, if you do A, it's going to fall off a cliff. If you do B, it's going to be stable. If you do C, it's going to fall off the other side. And so you need that background report so that you can refer back to the problem you're trying to solve.
But that document was done how long ago? The background?
Yeah.
We've been doing this, working on it for 2 years.
So you had a chance to vet that, right? Why would you go back to a background unless you found a fault in it? I don't see why you're diluting your efforts to concentrate on.
Well, that's the thing. Like you said, that is pretty well said. That was a picture of the day they collected it.
Right.
Then from that,
So that didn't change.
no, but then you go. But no, you asked me what availability. All 3 of them are available to be reviewed if you want to see them. What?
No, I'm not asking.
Oh, I thought you wanted to see them.
I would expect that the planning commission or council would want to focus in on what they can make an impact on.
Right.
And so limit the time. Time is of essence here as far as where you need to grow, and we're here to help you grow. But if you delay the 60 days for the growing process and then tag on another 30 days for city council, it seems that if you
you spent all this time, and as we already commented, we think you guys did a great job, but I'm not clear why you're needing 60 days to review a document that is only, how many pages?
400. 400.
400. Well, a lot of that document in the general plan has to do with what was said in the previous general plan, and it has to be continuity. You can't just all of a sudden tear out sections of the document. It's good that you should be informed so that you take action appropriately to, when projects come up, you say, okay, I remember it. We discussed this, and it conforms, and we'll move on. But I'm not clear why 60 days to review only 400 pages.
Well, there are two documents, and the commissioners chose review them. The environmental. No, he had problems. He had problems with the environmental impact report, and he's got to go through that thing to make sure it is technically correct. You know, for all the glitches that happened with the computers. So that's one of them, and then we just got some formatting to do in the.
Yeah, but that should take
I think
you're also dealing with the holiday. You're also dealing with the holidays.
Of anything that I think you should reiterate that if you do send it to the strategic plan committee, that you don't want we're formatting it and massaging it and not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Because I can see where this
and
could
on.
get out and it take another 2 years to go through it if it's wrong. Yeah.
I'm not even so much concerned about it's. For me to be able to send this to the city council, this is the document that the city is going to have to refer to over the next 20 years. Yeah, it's only 400 pages. It's 400 pages that I have to process and feel good about sending it to the city council. For some people, they might be able to get through that in 30 days. Given the time of year and given how I typically like to process things, I believe it's going to take me more than 30 days. So. And I say that being someone who's shown up at almost every one of the workshops, but I haven't been able to read the document. And this is why I asked several months ago, is this coming to the Planning Commission? And I've been told consistently it hasn't. So I have not read that document because I've been prioritizing my time trying to make sure I have everything else together. Had I known 3 months ago this was going to be coming to us in December, I would have started reading back in September. We didn't. So.
You said you got to take care of this, what, 6 days you can have it all taken care of?
6 hours.
6 hours, whatever.
Probably within 6 days from now, too, though, yes.
I mean, they wrote this thing up. Give them 6 hours and let's do it. Get it over.
Let me make this more clear. I'm not going to give my recommendation to a document that I have not read front to back and I understand. I would be doing the city a disservice. I'd be recommending something to the city council that just kind of going, yeah, I think this is good, so yeah, here.
That's what we paid them.
Okay.
I would just point out too that this is the quote unquote final draft. I mean, we've had workshops on all of the previous drafts, and there's been probably almost a year that this has been out for review in some way, shape, or form. So just keep that in mind. That I know you're the newest planning commissioner, and you haven't had time to review, but the community's had a lot of time to review this.
You just got to go through it in 6 hours and correct the stuff that they made a mistake on.
Well, we have a motion. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Or?
Yeah, motion to continue this
it
until
to February.
Okay.
Until the February meeting.
Oh, did we vote on that?
No.
No. Okay, let's vote on it.
We don't have a second.
We don't have a second.
Oh, there's a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Guevara.
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett.
No.
Commissioner Medeiros is absent. Commissioner Grassoff.
Aye.
Chairman Franco.
Aye.
All members of the commission be present. The motion stated by the mayor passes 3, 1, 0,
And
1.
And one absent.
And 1 absent. With 1 no and 1 absent.
The motion carries.
Can we get the city council to be reviewing I mean, they are reviewing, right? Let's make sure that.
Hasn't gone to them.
Yeah, they've had copies,
Okay.
you know, probably a week before you did.
Okay, we now have down to action items. I question this. Consider design review for Pueblo Viejo imports. And over here on action item D, 4D, approve Pueblo Viejo imports sign permit. What happened here?
We know why that was, Rudy? Why it's on two places?
Probably a typo.
Typo?
I think 4 should have been, what is it?
We have two action.
That shouldn't have been labeled action
For
items.
action, yeah. Probably shouldn't have been on, I think that should be consent items rather than action items.
It wouldn't have been consent since it was a hearing, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll just take it as completed. Okay, now we have discussion items. 7A, fencing regulations. Staff.
Well, we got we didn't put anything in the agenda on that, did we?
We can continue that for discussion.
I think at our last meeting I had all the fencing data on there. We want to continue that, you know. I think we were talking about masonry fences versus wood fencing.
Yeah, and I'd actually been meaning to get together with Vanda and getting something together with that.
Let's run that one to January.
Okay.
Noise ordinance.
And again, I don't have all of the stuff. We contacted 3 or 4 other cities to get theirs, and we're still assembling it. And I've got now 4 cities, and I contacted 3 others, so I want to get a combination of at least 7 cities, and then we can kind of go through it.
Let's run that one to January. Planning Commission bylaws.
I didn't give everybody a copy of it. I thought we were going to have a workshop on it.
You did that last month?
Yeah, he handed us all a copy last month of that.
I need a copy.
Just something to make it simpler and easier for everybody on the.
Trish, could you email me a copy of the Planning Commission bylaws? Or
I have them electronically.
Oh. Or print a copy and I'll pick it up?
Email.
Bylaws as they exist, or
The ones.
I wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh,
Did
okay.
you create bylaws?
I give some out, but they haven't been passed. We're just going to review it and look at it.
It was a procedure that would go into bylaws.
Because there are planning commission bylaws.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can we get a copy of that?
Can you get a copy of that for all the commissioners, either electronically or otherwise? Whatever's good for you.
PDF it in and scan it to you.
Okay, we can work with that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Commissioner Garrett will be committee chairman for the bylaws revisions, so they'll review them, figure what's missing, what's needed, update them.
You start with them.
Okay, so we'll put that one in January.
Okay.
Do it in January. She'll send you this stuff, and then you can work with it. Okay. Reschedule of historic downtown streetscape guidelines. When do we want those to come up?
February?
Okay.
January's going to be busy. February's busy.
Strategic Planning Committee report. Hey, something we're going to hear.
Wow. Yeah, in brief, Vanda was nominated and voted for chair for was that a newly appointed section of the
It was a
Historic
name
Preservation
and Design
and Community Design.
Yeah. So it's no longer called the Historic San Juan Batista Plan Committee. It's the Historic Preservation and Community Design.
Yep. Apparently there's a grant available for 50% of exercise equipment that has been proposed for public access at the school grounds. The estimated cost total is $20,000, so we have to figure out how to come up with $20,000 or $10,000 of that. And several of the members had thought they had pretty good means of getting that, so that might be nice to have kind of a not really a park course per se, but some sort of exercise equipment that would have public access.
Would it be on the school property or?
I believe it would be, was it around the field or on the edge of the field? So which is school grounds,
Yeah,
so
the
technically.
The school's on board with it.
Yeah, the school,
High school or the
is
grade school?
the grade school. Youth Commission had has 6 spots open, had 8 kids apply. I know that they had done the
Maybe half of the interviews.
yeah, they'd done like half the interviews, and some were impressive, some were not quite as impressive. And then the last one, which actually looked like it kind of cured itself, was the website and being able to fund the website, to finish off the website. Right, that got to be able to have Connie finish off the website. Is that what I read? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, she's part of her job description with the city is to renovate the website.
Right.
I think it's all up and running, and we give her changes as needed.
Okay. We got the impression at the last meeting that she only had funding for another 8 or 10 hours,
Yeah.
and then that was it. And then we saw an email that basically said that she was funded to finish it off through the end of the fiscal year. Is this?
She's budgeted, yeah.
She's budgeted, okay.
Yeah,
which
I
is
don't know where that
good.
came from. Yeah, we budgeted it. Yeah.
The new website is spectacular. It is omitting a lot of, I think, some key information like past minutes, past agendas, and past that were on the old website, but not the new one. So, and that's in brief. Was there anything else I missed? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have comment section. Commissioners, any final comments?
We don't have an area for future agenda items, but
Okay.
I would like a brewery update. The parking lot, that really should be urgent.
They're going through a bit of divorce right now.
That's right. What about the performance bond, and what about the PG undergrounding? I would like to see this on the agenda every month, because I think it's just going on, and people are asking, well, what's happening? I don't know. I don't know what to tell them.
I think we should put everything on that we did in the year, the first year, before we did review everything.
Or we should review the conditions of approval as we have with an island.
Yes, Harvey Lockhart.
Yeah, and make sure that things are getting done. Maybe we should prioritize how they're being done.
Because every project we've done so far, most people did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. And I'm sorry he's having problems, but
Well, as was brought up, we're not the enforcement portion,
right?
which was something that actually had kind of come up a couple of months ago, and I think you kind of keyed down on it. Right now, if there's a revocation hearing, that goes straight to City Council.
Apparently so.
The brewery isn't on the agenda tonight.
I'm asking you,
Okay.
this is in general comment.
Sounds like.
Well, we do want it on the agenda for next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. My comment was more in general. Go
That's
ahead.
your comment under your comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to outstep my bounds here.
Any other things you want to talk about? Okay.
Yeah.
If you do.
Don't forget the Christmas parade is Saturday.
It's Christmas parade Saturday and the bonfire on the 18th.
18th or 19th?
18th.
The Friday, the 18th.
And then Rudy Park is having a visit with Santa and pictures, I think, on the 19th?
Probably Rotary.
Yeah, it is Rotary. Thank you for Rotary. My goodness, if we didn't have Rotary.
Donna, former
Yes,
commissioner.
yeah.
She's right in there.
And, I don't know if I can disclose this, but I think it's public knowledge, or it's getting to be public knowledge. Maybe I shouldn't. Never mind. You'll find out.
You sure? Positive.
You want to give us a hint?
San Benito County Chamber, Woman of the Year. She was just named Woman of the Year. Donna?
Oh.
I thought we talked.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're like, that's great. Ooh.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Donna Holm. Okay, city manager, any comments?
None? No?
Assistant city planner, any comments? No. Chair moves, entertains a motion for adjournment. Yes, okay, what time is it? 8:49.
Not too bad, considering